Okay, I should be here. Hey, everyone. Isn't it time? Oof. I think it's time. Here, we're going to be getting going in just a moment. And by just a moment, I mean in 30 minutes. And here's why I mean 30 minutes. I'll just bring this in real quick. Yeah, see? Debate countdown, 30 minutes. Dev, did you hear about a girl getting set on fire by another girl at a Saskatoon school? Oh, wow, dude. That's quite the super chat just to start us off. I guess I'll look that up. Give me a moment. Thanks for the $5, dude. So, how's everyone going? Here, just give me a second here, okay? Delicious water. It's so good. Glug, 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 glug. Okay, give me a second here, guys. Sorry, I'm just setting things up. Yep, the plan today is in fact to stream with Arch. We're talking about the presidential debate. Or we're going to be watching it. It's on in 30 minutes. Also, Taftaj is going to join us. Wait, is there no audio? What do you mean? I'm right here. You can't hear me? Yes, dry bread. That is the case about Arch's chat. Arch's chat is fucking crazy, dude. Arch's chat has turned to completely hate me, and it started because I said that Donald Trump legitimately lost the 2020 election. Oh no, Spoon fucking hates me, dude. 100%. His chat was talking about hating you nonstop for half an hour, even when your name never came up on stream. Of course they were, because they're fucking insane. Of course. Anyway, listen, I'm gonna hop in the Arch server right now. I'll see what I can do here real quick. I'm trying. Boomer Dev booms it again. Okay, I should be in the stream room now in the Archcast. Can I drag Taftaj up here? No, I can't. Well, maybe I'll go down to the waiting room and talk to her then. Yeah, okay, let's go over. Hello, are you there?
Hello, Dev.
Oh man, it's been a while, eh?
It has been. I pulled up the YouTube video that you sent me.
Yeah, it starts in 26 minutes.
Oh
So,
my god.
is
Hype.
is this going to be your return to streaming? Are you coming back?
Maybe. Maybe. If there's incentive to. I know people in my server have been encouraging me to do so. But it's scary, man. It's scary out there in the political world.
I still don't quite know why you stopped, to be honest.
I think it was because I sort of did like a calculation on the value that I was getting out of it. And I had the thought, if I keep doing this, eventually like all people who sort of stream and talk about political and controversial subjects, there will be like bad takes that I have, and there will be like bad moments that get clipped. And if I'm not getting like a career out of that, it's like fairly hard to justify. Um, and so I think I just did that like value calculation and decided to take the safer option.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, I know all about having bad takes and putting my foot in my mouth. Happens all the time.
Yeah, I mean, it's like so inevitable. And I think it's like hard to deal with in a way because I'm like such a perfectionist and like I want to be like right about everything. But like inevitably you just aren't right. Or worse, maybe worse, is that you just get misinterpreted and it's like so impossible to like explain like, no, 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 no. That's not what that meant. Because yeah, people will just like we live in this post-truth world and people will run with whatever they want to believe. And sometimes the narrative can be stronger than the person, which is scary.
Yep. Yep. I know exactly what you mean. Or sometimes when you are actually right about something, but no one believes you because they're all bought into
Oh,
something else.
yeah, brutal.
Yeah, happens all
I
the time.
Yeah, it's a rough world out there. So gotta really love it or be making lots of money.
Well, for me, it's actually kind of both. I do really enjoy it,
Yeah.
even when I get flamed by everyone, and I do make some decent money off of it, so that's okay too.
Yeah. I think as long as you are like making enough to survive, that's like you and as long as you enjoy it like a little bit, like you're probably good. Um, have either of those two things and you're good.
Yeah. Also, yeah, some people are asking, chat, we're waiting on Arch. Arch is the late one at this point. Now, I know he started his stream like an hour early because he doesn't understand time zones. So he's just been hanging out for like an hour, but we're waiting on him to join the server. Listen, we're in Arch's
His
podcast
server.
server. Yeah, this is his server, and we're waiting on him. But yeah, I don't know. See, I don't know how unplugged you've been from like the YouTube political scene, but I know that I've been in controversy after controversy. You know.
Yeah. I will sometimes like talk to you, just like catching up. And I'll be like, hey man, great video. Or like, how's the move going? Or whatever. And you're like, oh my God, the controversy.
Oh,
I'm
Why are you
like,
sitting in the waiting room?
well, Taftadge can't join the stream room.
yeah,
Why
it's
not?
true.
I don't
You
know.
got to give me permissions again. I
What?
think I lost them.
Okay, I'm just
Or maybe I
gonna
never had them.
Well, this is your new
I'm
account,
just gonna
right?
give you the only role on this server.
Thank you. Thank you.
Wait, you're gonna have roles equal to Lumi then?
No, that is the secondary role. She's the only one who has a special role.
Oh.
Ooh, fancy.
He's extra special.
I love that. I like Lumi. She's great.
I'm surprised you know who
Lom
she
Lom
is,
is
to be
a
honest.
wonderful servant.
But yeah, Taftage, I'm surprised you know who Lumi is.
Yeah, Lumi, I think she's messaged me like a decent amount on Twitter. We've like gone back and forth.
Oh
She
yeah?
seems really nice.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. As long as I'm thinking of the same Lumi, which I probably am.
Well, hold on, because there's like a Twitch Paul Lumi, and then there's Arch's VTuber friend Lumi, and they're two different
Oh,
Lumis.
what's
Oh my
her like
god.
handle?
Well, she's the yellow.
Luminous Cove, I think.
Yeah.
Okay, I might have very positive associations with a different Lumi.
Oh my god. Other
Okay,
Lumis.
maybe Lumis are just fantastic.
I don't know about fantastic. This Lumi is growing a little bit too close to communism for my taste.
Oh yeah, you noticed that too, eh, Arch?
Yep, definitely. But hey, at least she's doing communism correct in that she's, just eating up all of everybody else's resources, but she's doing it voluntarily.
So, Arch, you started an hour early. How was that?
Oh, I didn't fucking know.
You're very prepared.
ABC told me they'd start streaming then. It's like, okay, well, that must mean they're going to start then, right?
Nope, that's not how it
I didn't.
works.
I didn't know they were going to have a room full of dudes and women and diverse people go like, oh, we think Trump is bad for an hour first.
Yeah, they got to preface it so you go in with the right mindset.
Let's see, what have they got on right now? They've got 3 chicks and 1 very scared-looking white dude. Yeah, that's about right.
State of the world.
Poor bastard.
What are you guys expecting from the debate?
Honestly, I
Heavens to
think
open up and rain brimfire.
no, actually, I think I don't think there's gonna be any surprises, to be honest. I think Trump will try to bluster his way through. I think he'll be less successful simply because Kamala isn't like a zombie.
Yeah.
And I think Kamala is slippery enough that she might be able to get away with a few things.
Yeah, it'll be interesting because we haven't really seen Kamala do too much. She hasn't really taken the limelight in the past few years. But yeah, I mean, Dev, you and I, previous to having Arch drag us into the stream room, we were discussing my relative out of the loopness, and how like you always tell me that you're in like some crazy drama, and I'm just like totally oblivious. Like as far as I know, you're just like releasing videos as normal. But there's like all sorts of stuff going on in the background, and I kind of feel that way about politics, where it's like I'm not super in the know. So I think I'll be playing like the normie on this debate.
Which is funny because you're nothing like a normie at all, in actuality.
Yeah, no. I mean, I have like all sorts of wild political values and stuff. But I'm not super informed. So I won't be able to fact check, I think, super well. I'm gonna lean on you guys for that.
Here, I'm gonna do something strange in Discord, but don't worry about it, Arch.
I think Trump will do just fine because he's a happy little Trumpalopicus and I believe in him. Plus, he's been given a very good talking point today. Let's not eat people's pets. Difficult to argue with that one.
Yeah, but that it inevitably begs the question, like, are people actually eating pets? And that's like much harder to justify.
Oh, I
to
don't know about
explain.
that.
Wait, hold
There's
on.
been-
What is this conversation about? Eating pets? What are we talking
Are you
about?
are you
here?
not
Oh,
in
yeah.
the loop?
No.
There was this beautiful picture about a melanated individual just carrying dead ducks home.
Yeah, I think he's got like a goose.
What
And
the
Yes.
fuck?
and somehow
Why?
this has spiraled into like Haitian immigrants are here to eat our cats. And in fact, there's very little evidence that like actually there's any widespread eating of ducks either. So I don't know.
Sounds
It's
so
just like it's one of
ridiculous.
these things where it's like that sounds really bad, but I feel like we should just wait for the local police department to like give us more info. But people have definitely taken it and run with it because it's there's a certain moral point that is very salient, which is like people have different cultures, and in some cultures, people eat different animals. It's very like it's possible that someone would like take a duck and eat it. So like it's shrouded in this air of like that could be possible, and that's really bad. So we should like look into that. But yeah.
I would actually say that rather than a cultural commentary, they're making an economic commentary here. Because the reasons why Haitians eat ducks, dogs, cats, whatever else they can get their hands on, isn't because they're like, oh, yes, in our world, the kitty cat is a delicacy. It's because Haiti has been suffering an enormous amount of hunger for like 3-4 years now. And the joke then is if President Kamala Harris gets into power, we'll all be eating cats.
You
Yeah,
think
maybe
so?
we'll all end up desperate. I mean, with the price controls, she has
Oh
some pretty
god.
awful policies for
Yeah,
sure.
she does. I'm not a fan.
That's why, here, and I'll put in, Taffhead, can you see live links?
I think so, yeah.
Well, something is working. There was this meme here, I'll put. I love this one. President Harris, a cat in every pot.
Here, I'll pull it up and see if I can get it up here. Yeah.
I love that one.
That's really
I can see
good.
that.
A cat in every pot.
It's a good meme.
But it's like, is it real? I feel like it looks bad to be like running with something that is like unsubstantiated and probably racist.
Something that's unsubstantiated in 2024.
That's literally
We
I don't
all
gotta
of
think it's
politics
racist.
nowadays.
rise above, Arch. We
The
have to
argument
hold
isn't that they're
ourselves
eating the
standard.
animals because they're black. The argument is eating the animals because they're goddamn poor and starving.
Yeah, maybe. Maybe they are. In which case,
Now, if
that's
they were
pretty bad.
Chinese, however, now you've got a cultural argument because the Chinese will eat anything, literally. There's a
They will, dude.
proverb
Oh
from
my
East
God.
Asia that the Chinese will eat anything. Like if they can catch it, they'll eat it.
Mm-hmm. Having dated a
Which
Chinese girl,
honestly,
yes.
kind of respect. The only problem is if it's like an animal that's owned by someone. That's pretty bad.
That's actually a thing. Okay, so one of my British friends has told me about this too. This is like a problem that has grown larger in Britain, like observably in the last 10 years or so. Theft of pets. Because
eating?
this is something like, no, I don't know, not for eating necessarily, but like for selling or just taking for your own or I don't know,
Okay.
eating maybe. Because this is one of those things, as a Norwegian, I was like, people don't steal pets. Like, what the fuck are you on about? Like, that is not a thing that occurs in my nation. But apparently, that has been like a mounting problem in England where people will just like see a cat outside and be like, oh, I have a cat now, and just bring it home.
And it's not a stray, it's somebody else's cat?
Yeah.
Oh. I mean, I've heard of people stealing like really nice looking dogs before, but it's not that common.
Especially like Discordia keeps her, because she's got like those fancy cats, like Bengals or something, I think.
Yeah.
She keeps those locked up, and she's like built like cages around the windows so they can kind of pop out of the windows without being, going outside, because those will apparently get stolen like immediately.
Well, the UK seems to be sinking into the ocean constantly, so I'm not surprised.
It
Yeah.
kind of does.
Some crazy stuff is going on over there.
Yeah. Yeah. I know I was watching Lonerbox go over like rape stats and crime stats and how like the right-wing narrative about Islamic immigrants doesn't really line up if you look at the numbers. And it's like, okay, fair enough, I understand. However, at the same time, when you live downtown London and you see people like swinging machetes around, and it's obviously like not indigenous, it's not indigenous ethnic English people swinging machetes around all the time. You know what I mean? Like there's some locations where it's just there's clearly a problem.
Well, okay, the correlation to the rape statistics, right? Like, how do we explain that rape statistics in England has fucking exploded?
It's patriarchy.
Patriarchy. I see. Then why aren't the feminists talking about it?
It's brown patriarchy, so they can't. They're hamstrung.
Because I was planning to do a video on this, but I haven't had time to get all the sources together yet. But the only mention of rape culture, because rape culture was everywhere in 2014. It was like rape culture. We have a rape culture in America, rape culture in England.
Mm-hmm.
It was like the racism of 2014. It's all around you. You can't touch it, but it's totally there, right? However, that has almost completely disappeared from the news media. The only mention I've found about it is one court case that was going on in England about rape culture. Otherwise, it just disappeared. And it's weird that the less we talk about rape culture, the more rape appears to be appearing in England.
Now that is a feminist argument. We need to get back to talking about rape culture.
Yeah, unironically.
So we can fix this problem. Yeah, I mean, there are like legitimate rape cultures in the world, and they're in certain areas.
Oh, I read an article from India recently where, like, okay, so there was an ambulance driver who arrived at a home where a man was injured, and instead of helping the man, the driver raped the daughter.
I've heard this story, yeah.
Yeah.
That's got to be
that.
made up. There's no fucking way.
No, it's real. Dude, India's fucked, man. Like,
India's really rough for women.
I know. Drybread said, and also honestly, Stardust has said this too, that like they don't want to go back to India because of just how shit it is for Indian women, and they're like, I'm not going back. Fuck that. I'd rather stay in the West. And it's like, you know what? Yeah, fair enough. I wouldn't want to either.
Yes. You told me about him. Now he's in my chat too. I gotta bring him on the Archcast at some time.
Yep.
Any non-communist friend of Dev.
He is a Let's Player. Yes.
Fucking rarity.
And he actually lives reasonably close by to me, and he's been watching me for a while.
Oh, nice.
But yes, so here, I should probably fill Taftage in a little bit on the drama since we do have 10 minutes before this starts up. Because actually,
Oh,
Oh
boy.
my god, 10 minutes
while I was
to cover your drama? You sure you don't mean 10 hours?
yeah, while I was setting up, Drybread came into my chat and he's like, "Dude, why does Arch's chat hate you so much?" And I'm like, "Okay, there's layers to this."
That's layers.
I mean, part of it is going to be because Arch, your chat is probably more right-leaning than you are. I think, like you're more right-leaning than me for sure, but your chat is more right-leaning than you.
You cast aspersions upon me, Dev.
But I'm not using that as an insult. I mean, Taftage is more right-leaning than both of us. I think.
In some ways.
Listen.
I'm a Dev. I'm a left winger. Okay.
Oh yeah, sure.
I want the government to nationalize natural resources. And I don't know why you're bringing up this shit.
I mean, Taftage, I've read your essay on why democracy sucks. You are the cool schizo-fascist in the friend group.
Yeah, I keep banging on this drum.
But yeah, so basically, like a lot of the initial hate that I got started when I said that Trump actually lost 2020. And that it wasn't stolen from him, and that all the coping was literally just that. It was just coping, and that earned a whole bunch of ire right away. And then ever since then, there's been like, I've been like basically, I've become more knowledgeable about things. I've looked into things, and I've identified places where the right wing is just like factually incorrect, and I'm not shy about saying those things, and so right wingers tend to hate me for it. Which is why, like, we've now reached a point where, like, half your chat believes that I'm like, I actually am a serious communist, and I'm going to backstab you for clout someday, and like all this, like, I've seen the comments, all this crazy, insane shit.
To be fair, you probably are.
You think I'm gonna backstab you one day?
Everybody else has.
Wait, hold on. Has Sargon backstabbed you?
Not yet. I'm sure he's planning it.
I believe in the eternal Arch Sargon friendship. I'm rooting for you guys. But yeah, I mean, Dev, you're like, I very much relate because I feel like I don't really have a tribe. Like you say that I'm like more right wing than both of you. In some ways, that's true, but in many ways, it's like not. And I oftentimes find myself like at odds with right wingers just on like individual issues because I think that they are engaging in kind of like tribalistic, I don't know, falsity, where they're just kind of like making things up that feel good. And it's like very frustrating to me because like I want to talk about the issues with immigration, but I want to talk about like the real issues. And I'm like sort of annoyed sometimes when people like focus on things where it's like, no, we actually have good reasons to like maybe be questioning these things. And maybe we don't need to focus on like, I don't know, stories that are like breaking, that kind of stuff. So yeah, I relate to like always ending up in this position where principles put one at odds with the tribal identity. And it's a struggle.
Mm-hmm. Yep, I know exactly what you mean.
But everyone has that feeling, I think, sometimes.
I think so too. Yeah, like I'm sure you can go over to the left and find people who are like, man, Kamala's way too far left, and like the Antifa goons on the left and the BLM people, all this fucking insanity on the left, dude. There's so much of it, and it's like, well, where does a reasonable center left person who's just like a like a normal tax and spend Democrat, where do those people go when the left is infested with fucking crazies, right? And I think the right has now also come to that point where they're also infested with fucking crazies.
Yeah, I felt very disillusioned with the left, seeing like the insanity that came out of like critical studies, fields and just general identity politics. Even like trans stuff, there's just like so much insanity. And it's like very frustrating to bring to these people studies and facts and data. And, you just get like shouted out of the room. And so it's like, it's always frustrating when you see that happen in a tribe that you identify more with because you want your own people to hold themselves to really high standards. So fun stuff.
Yeah,
but yeah.
I mean they never do on either side. They never fucking do. Politics in some ways just like inherently disheartening because you always meet people who are just tribalistic. Like, okay, probably the craziest thing is like I was have you guys seen there's this viral Twitter post from like it's like an old nostalgic tech Twitter account, right? Nothing political at all. and it has someone posted like an old computer from 1994 running like Doom 2, right? And people were like, "Oh yeah, dude, wasn't this the shit? This is awesome." And then Jack Posobiec hops in and like quote tweets it with MAGA 2024, and I'm like, "What the fuck are you doing? Like, how is this? This is not a political post. What are you doing here?"
Yeah, totally. I mean, it really turns us all into brigands and
Everything is political
ruins.
now.
Yeah, it ruins like good, media and stuff that
Think-
is representing eternal values, like Lord of the Rings. It turns into leftist garbage as soon as the ideologues get their hands on it.
I was talking to one of the countless people out there who think a dev is the Satan. And judging by like popular acclaim, I'm leaning towards their interpretation of reality at this point.
Oh, really? Why?
Oh, just in the numbers, Dev.
Okay.
I'm a direct representative kind of guy.
Yeah.
See, there
Whatever
you
the
go.
people
That's
say.
why you should be anti-democracy, because there's a very loud number of people, as the number grows, who hate me, but all their reasons stupid. But as long as there's enough of them, then they can vote.
That's a persuasive argument, Dev. But what we're talking about is how everything has turned political. And this is exactly what happened before. Because when we had everything so nice, like when we had a beautiful world where the majority of us didn't need to give a shit about politics. Everything was running on rails, and politics was an impolite thing. You don't discuss politics or religion. And it was only for a handful of nut jobs who's like, I like this candidate. And like, I don't fucking care. Government seems to be doing fine. But now that we are in a cultural crisis, now everything has to be political. Everybody has to be political. And that does reduce politics to the level of the common man. And that's probably actually not a good thing. As Churchill says, the best argument against democracy is a 5-minute conversation with the average voter.
Well, keep in mind, though, Arch, the right wing hates Churchill now. You've seen that, right?
Yeah, but I like Churchill. He's fat.
No,
And
I've been watching Academic Agent for a while on the Churchill thing, and he keeps saying that like Churchill is terrible because one, he fought against the wrong enemy in World War II, and two,
true.
he sold the British Empire to the Americans.
Also true.
And it's like, okay, dude, but I think you might be missing a few other points in there. All right, it's not quite that simple.
Yeah, to be fair, the British Empire was fucked. Like, they were crushed under the weight of their obligations and debt after the Second World War. Like, you gotta remember, they owed America like five yearly budgets, at least, in just aid that they'd received. Like, the British Empire was gone.
Oh my god, $5 from Titanium. Why is Taftage ASMRing into her mic? I can't be angry at the state of politics in my country when a sultry voice is talking at me.
Oh my god.
Lum, you need to pick up on this too.
Yeah, Lumi,
Lean
you're
into
here.
the mic and whisper.
Hi, Lumi.
I'm not. I was already told to do ASMR. I said no because ASMR is cringe and gay.
Lum.
What?
I pay you. Do it.
Will you pay me $500 a week?
No.
Ooh.
And then I can quit my job and then I'll do that?
She's a goddamn expensive ASMR artist.
So, by the way,
And I'll say hello, Dev.
Taftage, this is Lumi, probably not the Lumi that you know.
There's too many
Unfortunately
goddamn
not,
Loomies.
but
I-
lovely to meet you.
Nice to meet you too. I need to fight the other Loomies for supremacy.
I think so. It's Highlander rules, right? Yeah.
Yes.
So, do you all have the
believe you.
debate up, by the way? Because it starts in 3 minutes.
Yep.
I do.
I am I will stick around for a little bit of the debate. I have a Baldur's Gate 3 stream at 9:30.
Oh my god, you traitor.
I'm doing a video on the fucking debate after I'm done with my stream because people want a video instead of a stream.
Oh.
There you go.
I did a
Now,
poll
Lum
on it.
is probably more on the Taftagian side of things, as she too has a problem with international capitalism.
What?
Who does?
You're both fascists, is what he's saying.
Yeah, basically.
I'm not a fascist.
How am I a
I
fascist?
like capitalism.
You're like a post-fascist.
I like capitalism, but I just don't like rich Californians buying up the nice properties here in the flyover states. They can go suck a fucking fish.
Listen, I agree with you. It's just really funny how that immediately turns into Eat the Rich whenever we're on the Archcast.
It is.
Oh, I see you're bringing up the new picture, Arch.
Oh god, is there
The
a new
Jews
picture?
are everywhere.
Oh boy.
These are everywhere.
My book club is reading Noticing by Steve Saylor, and he makes very similar arguments about like, people buying up the land that like rural people own and getting them out of their communities. And he's like, it's nostalgia and connection to the land is a very powerful force and should be respected and whatnot. But I will say, reading it just like reads as like leftism to me. So
Well, it's very like that's very similar to like what Christopher Latch writes about, if you've read any of him, because he was a history professor and he wrote a lot. He was basically the guy who coined the term post-liberalism, and he wrote a lot about how the economic success of liberalism, and it has been a true economic success despite our current hardships, has also led to a complete devaluing of anything that's not considered directly material, which has led to some very serious emotional problems and communal problems among populations.
yes, but I also think that like I don't think it's devaluing so much as some people have the money to act on the things that they value. And if you have the money to act on those things and you really value land and flyover states, I think you ought to be able to purchase that land. And I think that that is a good thing because you have acquired that monetary wealth by delivering value to the society you live in elsewhere. So I think that that seems like a quite good equal exchange and a reward for people who are delivering a lot of value. And at the end of the day,
Hold on,
one of my issues.
Debate's just starting right
Oh,
now.
we're jumping in. More on that later then. This is
Sorry,
much more
it's starting right
interesting.
now.
Kamala Harris and former President Donald Trump. Their first
Everyone
As a
face-to-face
counter
meeting in
argument,
this
by the way,
presidential election. Their first
Lum Lum,
face-to-face
go
meeting
find yourself
ever.
a knife and a fork so you can come back here and just rub them against each other. And Tap continues here. Capitalist domination.
Donald Trump now up against a new opponent.
The candidates separated by the smallest
Num
of
Num sounds a
margins,
lot like
essentially
Num Num.
tied in the polls nationally and in the key battlegrounds, including right here in Pennsylvania, all still very much in play. The ABC News presidential debate starts right now.
This is an ABC News special. The most
Oh God, I
moment of this
hate
campaign,
that speaking
Kamala
point.
Harris.
What's that?
Which one?
We will chart a new way forward. The whole change thing. Like, I fell for that under the Obama era. Like, change, good. Like, okay, what did you change? Well, shit.
Not
The
much,
ABC News presidential debate.
I hate these inconsequential sloganeering things that has become that has basically
Good evening, I'm David Bjorn.
replaced
Thank you for
policy
joining us for
discussions
tonight's
now.
ABC News presidential debate. We want to welcome viewers watching on ABC and around the world tonight. Vice President Kamala Harris and President Donald Trump are just moments away from taking the stage in this unprecedented race for president.
And I'm Lindsay Davis. Tonight's meeting could be the most consequential event of their campaigns, with Election Day now less than 2 months away. For Vice President
Okay,
Kamala
I've cranked
Harris,
it
this
up,
is her
chat. That's as high
first
as it can
debate
go.
since President Biden withdrew from the race on July 21st. Of course, that decision followed
maybe I
his
can adjust a
debate
bit more.
against President Donald Trump in June. Since then, this race has taken on an entirely new dynamic.
And that brings us to the rules of tonight's debate. 90 minutes with 2 commercial breaks. No topics or questions have been shared with the campaigns. The candidates will have 2 minutes to answer questions, and this is the clock. That's what they'll be seeing. 2 minutes for rebuttals and 1 minute for follow-ups, clarifications, or responses. Their
Pussies.
microphones will only be turned on when it's their turn to speak. No pre-written notes allowed. There is no audience here tonight in this hall
No
at the
fun
National
allowed.
Constitution Center. This is an
Indeed.
intimate setting for 2 candidates who have never met.
President Trump won
Oh,
the
God, she
coin
does have
toss.
a
He
mini
chose to
podium.
deliver the final closing statement of the evening.
Oh, it
Vice
is
President
smaller.
Harris selected the podium to
That's
the
kind
right.
of cute.
So let's now welcome the candidates to the stage. Vice President Kamala Harris and President
Oh wow, it is
Donald
it's
Trump.
shorter. What's going on?
She needs to look tall.
Are they gonna shake hands?
Kamala Harris. Accepted
There
They
bid.
did.
Thank you.
Okay,
Welcome
that
to
was
you
a
both. It's
smart
wonderful
move
to
by
have you. It's an honor
Kamala,
to have you
actually,
both
because
here
that makes her
Good
come
evening.
across
We
as
are
civil,
looking
where
forward
Trump
to a
was a bit more
spirited and
hesitant.
thoughtful debate.
Yep.
So let's get started. I want to begin tonight with
I
the
hate
issue
getting
that
close
voters
to the
repeatedly
enemy.
say is their number one issue, and that is the
Don't
economy
do it,
and the
Archer.
cost
Chat
of
will
living
string
in
you
this
up.
country. Vice President Harris, you and President Trump were elected 4 years ago, and your opponent on the stage here tonight often asks his supporters, are you better off than you were 4 years ago? When it comes to the economy, do you believe Americans are better off than they were 4 years ago?
So I was raised as a middle-class kid, and I am actually the only person on this stage who has a plan that is about lifting up the middle class and working people of America. I believe in the ambition, the aspirations, the dreams of the American people. And that is why I imagine and have actually a plan to build what I call an opportunity economy. Because here's the thing. We know that we have a shortage of homes and housing, and the cost of housing is too expensive for far too many people. We know that young families need support to raise their children, and I intend on extending a tax cut for those families of $6,000, which is the largest child tax credit that we have given in a long time, so that those young families can afford to buy a crib, buy a car seat, buy clothes for their children. My passion, one of them, is small businesses. My mother raised my sister and me, but there was a woman who helped raise us. We call her our second mother. She was a small business owner. I love our small businesses. My plan is to give a $50,000 tax deduction to start-up small businesses, knowing they are part of the backbone of America's economy. My opponent, on the other hand, his plan is to do what he has done before, which is to provide a tax cut for billionaires and big corporations, which will result in $5 trillion to America's deficit. My opponent has a plan that I call the Trump sales tax, which would be a 20% tax on everyday goods that you rely on to get through the month. Economists have said that Trump sales tax would actually result for middle-class families in about $4,000 more a year because of his policies and his ideas about what should be the backs of middle-class people paying for tax cuts for billionaires.
President Trump, I'll give you 2 minutes.
First of all, I have no sales tax. That's an incorrect statement. She knows that. We're doing tariffs on other countries. Other countries are going to finally, after 75 years, pay us back for all that we've done for the world. And the tariff will be substantial in some cases. I took in billions and billions of dollars, as you know, from China.
Billions and billions.
In fact, they never took the tariff off because there was so much money they can't. It would totally destroy everything that they've set out to do. They're taking in billions of dollars from China and other places. They've left the tariffs on. When I had it, I had tariffs and yet I had no inflation.
Don't make me hit you.
Look, we've had a
We can debate it after.
economy because inflation which is really known as a country buster. It breaks up countries. We have inflation like very few people have ever seen before, probably the worst in our nation's history. We were at 21%, but that's being generous because many things are 50, 60, 70, and 80% higher than they were just a few years ago. This has been a disaster for people, for the middle class, but for every class. On top of that, we have millions of people pouring into our country from prisons and jails, from mental institutions and insane asylums, and they're coming in and they're taking jobs that are occupied right now by African Americans and Hispanics, and also unions. Unions are going to be affected very soon. And you see what's happening. You see what's happening with towns throughout the United States. You look at Springfield, Ohio. You look at Aurora in Colorado. They are taking over the towns. They're taking over buildings. They're going in violently. These are the people that she and Biden led into our country, and they're destroying our country. They're dangerous. They're at the highest level of criminality, and we have to get them out. We have to get them out fast. I created one of the greatest economies in the history of our country. I'll do it again and even better.
We are going to get to
he is strong there because that is
during
happening.
this debate, but I would like to let Vice President Harris respond on the economy here.
Well, I would love to. Let's talk about what Donald Trump left us. Donald Trump left us the worst unemployment since the Great Depression. Donald Trump left us the worst public health epidemic in a century.
On the split screen, they make her look taller than Trump?
The worst attack on our democracy
like by
since
2 or 3
the
pixels.
Civil War.
Yeah.
And what we have done is clean up Donald Trump's mess.
Oh, and why was that?
What we have done and what I intend to do is build on what we know are the aspirations and the hopes
and
of
why
the
was
American
that?
people. But I'm going to tell you all, in this debate tonight, you're going to hear from the same old tired playbook.
Are you behind
a bunch of lies, grievances, and name-calling.
No, I'm lying.
What you're going to hear tonight is a detailed and dangerous plan called Project 2025 that the former president intends on implementing if he were elected again.
Oh, God, Kamala, don't do this.
I believe very strongly that the American people want a president who understands the importance of bringing us together, knowing we have so much more in common than what separates us. And
Trump
I
has
pledge
a very
to you to
easier
be a
button
president
against
for
that.
all Americans.
She should not pivot to
President Trump will give you a minute here to respond.
Number one, I have nothing
he
to do,
disavowed
as you
Project
know, and as she knows
2025
better than
because it
anyone,
even
I have
had
nothing to
extremist
do
shit
with
he didn't agree
Project
with.
2025. That's out there. I haven't read it. I don't want to read it purposely. I'm not going to read it. This was a group of people that got together. They came up with some ideas, I guess some good, some bad, but it makes no difference. I have nothing to do. Everybody knows I'm an open book. Everybody knows what I'm going to do. Cut taxes very substantially and create a great economy like I did before. We had the greatest economy. We got hit with a pandemic.
Yep.
And the
He slaps
pandemic
her with that
was
immediately.
not since 1917, where 100 million people died, has there been anything like it. We did a phenomenal job with the pandemic. We handed them over a country where the economy and where the stock market was higher than it was before the pandemic came in. Nobody's ever seen anything like it. We made ventilators for the entire world. We got gowns, we got masks, we did things that nobody thought possible.
Yeah, Arch, even your
and
chat
people
is saying
give me
you're
credit
behind.
for rebuilding the
should maybe
military. They
check
give
on
me
that.
credit for a lot of things.
I was also
but
a
not
little
enough
behind,
credit for the
yeah.
great
That's
job
right.
we did with the pandemic.
Let me,
but the
I'll
only
reload
jobs
it.
they got were
Share
bounce
his
back jobs.
screen
These
so
were
that
jobs
everyone can just see the
bounce
same
back,
thing.
and it bounced back, and it went
Refreshing
to their
work
benefit.
for me.
But I was the one that created them. They know
Yep,
it, and
it
so does
says it's
everybody
live.
else.
Vice President
Do
Harris, I'll
you
let
have
you
another source, Dev?
So
Nope, I'm using the one that you linked.
Donald
The
Trump has no
ABC.
plan for you. And when you look
Yeah,
at
well, I
his
guess that's
economic
just,
plan, it's all about
one of those
tax
things,
breaks
then.
for the richest people. I am offering what I describe as an opportunity economy, and the best economists in our country,
he
if not
slapped
the
her there.
world, have
That
reviewed
was
our
terrible.
relative
2025,
plans
bad
for the
idea.
future
It's like,
of
oh,
America.
hey, he gave us
What
bad health.
Goldman
Yeah, because
Sachs has
COVID.
said is that
Door
Donald
attack.
Trump's plan would make the economy worse. Mine would strengthen the economy. What the Wharton School has said is Donald Trump's plan would
Trust the
actually
experts. Not a good
explode
movie
the
either.
deficit. 16 Nobel laureates have described his economic plan as something that would increase inflation and by the middle of next year would invite a recession. You just have to look at where we are and where we stand on the issues. And I'd invite you to know that Donald Trump actually has no plan for you because he is more interested in defending himself than he is in looking out for you.
It's just a soundbite. They gave her that to say. Look, I went to the Wharton School of Finance, and many of those professors, the top professors, think my plan is a brilliant plan. It's a great plan. It's a plan that's going to bring up our worth, our value as a country. It's going to make people want to be able to go and work and create jobs and create a lot
This again is not a very good attack
solid
because
money
Trump can
for
simply
our
say, yeah,
for
but
our
I
country.
did make a
And
good
just
economy.
to finish off, she doesn't have a plan. She copied Biden's plan, and it's like 4 sentences, like run, spot, run. 4 sentences that are just, oh, we'll try and lower taxes.
What the fuck are we watching?
She doesn't have a plan. Take a look at her plan. She doesn't have a plan.
Mr. President, I do want to drill down on something you both
the run,
brought
spot,
up.
run
The
plan,
Vice President
guys.
brought up your tariffs. You responded, and let's drill down on this because your plan is what she calls is essentially a national sales tax. Your proposal calls for tariffs, as you pointed out here, on foreign imports across the board. You recently said that you might double your plan, imposing tariffs up to 20% on goods coming into this country. As you know, many economists say that with tariffs at that level, costs are then passed on to the consumer. Vice President Harris has argued it'll mean higher prices on gas, food, clothing, medication, arguing it costs the typical family nearly $4,000 a year. Do you believe Americans
tariffs
can
aren't good,
afford
guys.
higher
Sorry,
prices
Archie, I
because
don't
of
agree with
tariffs?
They're not going to have higher
Yeah.
prices. What's going to
Tariffs are
happen,
great.
who's going to have higher prices is China.
Not from an
and
economic
all of the
perspective,
countries
at
that
the
have been
very least.
ripping
Maybe
us
they're
off
Not
for
everything
years.
is about
for-
economy.
I charge, I was
This
the-
is
Yeah,
a-
maybe
not
they're
an
good for
economic
like
argument.
punishing
China was paying us
other
hundreds of
countries,
billions of
younger
dollars, and so
people.
were other countries. And, you know, if she doesn't like them, they should have gone out and they should have immediately cut the tariffs. But those tariffs are there 3.5 years now under their administration. We are going to take in billions of dollars, hundreds of billions of dollars. I had no inflation, virtually no inflation. They had the highest inflation perhaps in the history of our country because I've never seen a worse period of time. People can't go out and buy cereal or bacon or eggs or anything else. The people of our country are absolutely dying with what they've done. They've destroyed the economy. And all you have to do is look at a poll. The polls say 80 and 85 and even 90% that the Trump economy was great, that their economy was terrible.
Vice President Harris, I do want to ask for your response. And you
Oh,
heard
yeah,
what the
eggs are
president
almost like
said there,
$5
because the
a
Biden
carton
administration
now
did
here.
keep a number of the Trump tariffs in place. So how do you respond?
Well, let's be clear that the Trump
And I just
administration
checked, too.
resulted
Yes,
in a trade
Biden
deficit,
did
one of the
keep
highest
Trump's
we've ever seen in
tariffs.
the history of America. He invited trade wars. You want to talk about his deal with China? What he ended up doing is under Donald Trump's presidency, he ended up selling American chips to China to help them improve and modernize their military, basically sold us out. when a policy about China should be in making sure the United States of America wins the competition for the 21st century, which means focusing on the details of what that requires, focusing on relationships with our allies, focusing on investing in American-based technology so that we win the race on AI, on quantum computing,
She does
focusing
actually have a
on
point
what we
here,
need to do
unfortunately.
to support
Yeah.
America's workforce. So that
I mean,
we
she
don't end up
overblows it.
having
The US has
on the
won
short
the
end
race
of
for the 21st
stick
century, but
in terms of
She has
workers'
the benefit
rights.
of
But what Donald
hindsight,
Trump
too.
did, let's talk about this, with COVID, is he actually thanked President Xi for what he did during COVID. Look at his tweet. Thank you, President Xi, exclamation point. When we know that Xi was responsible for lacking and not giving us transparency about the origins of COVID.
President Trump, I'll let you respond.
First of all, they bought the chips from Taiwan. We hardly make chips anymore because of philosophies like they have and policies like they have. I don't say her because she has no
nearly
policy.
dropped the bomb
Everything that she believed 3 years ago and 4 years ago is out the window. She's going to my philosophy now. In fact, I was going to send her a MAGA hat. She's gone to my philosophy. But
see, this is actually
if she ever
true
got elected,
because she said some crazy shit in 2020 for
it
sure.
will be the end of our country.
Yeah, but he should
She's a
name the
Marxist.
policies, if
Everybody knows
possible.
she's a Marxist. Her father's a Marxist professor in economics, and he taught her well. But when you look at what she's done to our country, and when you look at these millions and millions of people that are pouring into our country monthly, where it's, I believe, 21 million people, not the 15 that people say, and I think it's a lot higher than the 21. That's bigger than New York State pouring in. And just look at what they're doing to our country. They're criminals. Many of these people coming in are criminals. And that's bad for our economy, too. You know, you mentioned before, we'll talk about immigration later. Well, bad immigration is the worst thing that can happen to our economy. They have, and she has, destroyed our country with policy that's insane. Almost policy that you'd say they have to hate our country.
President Trump, thank you. Lindsay?
I want to turn to the issue of abortion. President Trump, you've often touted that you were able to kill Roe v. Wade. Last year, you said that you were proud to be the most pro-life president in American history. Then last month, you said that your administration would be great for women and their reproductive rights. In your home state of Florida, you surprised many with regard to your 6-week abortion ban because you initially had said that it was too short. And you said, quote, I'm going to be voting that we need more than 6 weeks. But then the very next day, you reversed course and said you would vote to support the 6-week ban. Vice President Harris says that women shouldn't trust you on the issue of abortion because you've changed your position so many times. Therefore, why should they trust you?
Well, the reason I'm doing that vote is because the plan is, as you know, the vote is, they have abortion in the 9th month. They even have, and you can look at the governor of West Virginia, the previous governor of West Virginia, not the current governor, is doing an excellent job. But the governor before, he said the baby will be born and we will decide what to do with the baby. In other words, we'll execute the baby. And that's why I did that, because that predominates. Because they're radical. The Democrats are radical in that.
That's not how it is.
And her vice presidential pick, which I think was a horrible pick, by the way, for our country, because he is really out of it. But her vice presidential pick says abortion in the 9th month is absolutely fine. He also says execution after birth. It's execution, no longer abortion, because the baby is born, is okay. And that's not okay with me. Hence the vote.
Josh Shapiro would have been a lot better.
For 52 years, they've been trying to get Roe v. Wade into the states. And through the
Roe v. Wade was actually pretty bad.
And heart and strength.
I'm pro-choice, and it was still pretty bad.
6 Supreme Court justices, we were able to do that. Now, I believe in the exceptions for rape, incest, and life of the mother. I believe strongly in it. Ronald Reagan did also. 85% of Republicans do. Exceptions. Very important. But we were able to get it, and now states are voting on it. And for the first time, you're going to see, look, this is an issue that's torn our country apart for 52 years. Every legal scholar, every Democrat, every Republican, liberal, conservative, they all wanted this issue to be brought back to the states where the people could vote. And that's what happened. Now, Ohio, the vote was somewhat liberal. Kansas, the vote was somewhat liberal, much more liberal than people would have thought. But each individual state is voting. It's the vote of the people now. It's not tied up in the federal government. I did a great service in doing it. It took courage to do it. And the Supreme Court had great courage in doing it. And I give tremendous credit to those 6 justices.
There is no state in this country where it is legal to kill a baby after it's born. Madam Vice President, I want to get your response to President Trump.
Well, as I said, you're going to hear a bunch of lies, and that's not actually a surprising fact.
Yep, send it back to the
Let's
states.
understand how we got here.
Yeah, I think that's probably
Donald
fine.
Trump
I
hand-selected
think he's
3
really
members
wrong
of the
with
United States
execution
Supreme
thing.
Court with the intention
And
that
Tim
they would
Walz.
undo the protections of
But
Roe
yeah,
v. Wade.
good that it went back to the states.
And they did exactly as he intended. And now in over 20 states, there are Trump abortion bans, which make it criminal for a doctor or nurse to provide health care. In one state, it provides prison for life. Trump abortion bans that make no exception even for rape and incest, which understand what that means. A survivor of a crime of violation to their body does not have the right to make a decision about what happens to their body next. That is immoral. And one does not have to abandon their faith or deeply held beliefs to agree. The government, and Donald Trump certainly, should not be telling a woman what to do with her body. I have talked with women around our country. You want to talk about this is what people wanted? Pregnant women who want to carry a pregnancy to term, suffering from a miscarriage, being denied care in an emergency room because the healthcare providers are afraid they might go to jail, and she's bleeding out in a car in the parking lot. She didn't want that. Her husband didn't want that. A 12 or 13-year-old survivor
this is
of
actually
incest
happening. I've covered
being
a few stories
forced
like
to
this.
carry a pregnancy to term. They don't want that. And I pledge to you, when Congress passes a bill to put back in place the protections of Roe v. Wade, as President of the United States, I will
Welcome to
proudly
democracy.
sign it into law. But understand, if Donald Trump were to be reelected, he will sign a national abortion ban. Understand, in his Project 2025, there would be a national
God, don't bring up
abortion
2025.
monitor that would be monitoring your pregnancies, your miscarriages. I think the American people believe that certain freedoms, in particular
God.
the freedom to make decisions about one's own body, should not be made by the government.
Thank you, Vice
She
President
was doing
Harris.
well
There
there,
she
and
goes
then
again. It's a lie.
She is
I'm
shooting
not signing a
holes into her own
ban, and there's no
campaign.
reason to sign a
I
ban
mean, how do you think
because
that
we've
plays?
gotten
'Cause I feel
what
like that might
everybody
play well
wanted.
with people.
Democrats,
Bring
Republicans,
up
and
Project
everybody else,
2025.
and every legal
Well, it's
scholar
exactly.
wanted
If
it
she
to
had
be brought back
stopped-
into the states, and the states are
if
voting.
she had
And it
stopped
may take a little
before
time,
Project
but
2025,
for
she would have done
52
pretty well.
years,
But
this
now she
issue
gives Trump
has
easy
torn
up. Like,
our country apart. And they've wanted it back in the states. And I did something that nobody
and Trump
thought
is
was
quite
possible.
strong on this issue too. Like,
The
there's
states
very
are
little
now
argument
voting.
with send it back
what
to the
she
states.
says is an absolute lie. And as far as the abortion ban, no, I'm not in favor of abortion ban, but it doesn't matter because this issue has now been taken over by the states.
Would you veto a national abortion ban if it came
Well, I
to your
won't
desk?
have to because, again, two things. Number one, she said she'll go back to Congress. She'll never get the vote. It's impossible for her to get the vote, especially now with the 50-50 and essentially 50-50 in both Senate and the House. She's not going to get the vote. She can't get the vote. She won't even come close to it. So it's just talk. You know what it reminds me of? When they said they're going to get student loans terminated, and it ended up being a total catastrophe. The student loans, and then her, I think probably her boss, if you call him a boss, he spends all his time on the beach. But look,
Oh, good one.
her boss went out and said, we'll do it again. We'll do it a different way. And he went out, got rejected again by the Supreme
a
Court.
strong
So all these students got
line for him.
taunted with this whole thing about this
All the
whole
leftist
idea.
college kids are
and how
mad.
unfair that would have been. Part of the reason they lost to the millions and millions of people that had to pay off their student loans. They didn't get it for free. But they were saying it's the same way that they talked about that they talk about abortion.
But if I could just get a yes or no, because your running mate, J.D. Vance, has said that you would veto it if it did come to your desk.
Well, I didn't discuss it with J.D. In all fairness, J.D. And I don't mind if he has a certain view, but I think he was speaking for me, but I really didn't. Look, we don't have to discuss it because she'd never be able to get it, just like she couldn't get student loans. They couldn't get student loans. They didn't even come close to getting student loans. They taunted young people and a lot of other people that had loans. They can never get this approved. So it doesn't matter what she says about going to Congress. Well, wonderful. Let's go to Congress. Do it. But the fact is that for years they wanted to get it out of Congress and out of the federal government, and we did something that everybody said couldn't be done. And now you have a vote of the people on abortion.
Vice President Harris, want to give you your time to respond, but I do want to ask, would you support any restrictions on a woman's right to an abortion?
I absolutely support reinstating the protections of Roe v. Wade. And as you rightly mentioned, nowhere in America is a woman carrying a pregnancy to term and asking for an abortion. That is not happening. It's insulting to the women of America. And understand what has been happening under Donald Trump's abortion bans.
Very rarely, occasionally
Couples
happen, yes.
who pray and dream of having a family are being denied IVF
I mean, there's some women that use
what is
abortions,
happening
like
in our
birth
country?
Control, so.
Working people, working women who are working 1 or 2 jobs, who can barely afford childcare as it is, have to
He's
travel
not
to
answering the
another
question, and
state
that's good.
to get on a plane sitting next to strangers.
These are all like
to
emotional
go and get the
appeals that will
healthcare
work with
she
her base.
needs.
Yep.
Barely can
I
afford
feel like
to
she
do
should
it,
just say,
and
yes,
what
of course
you
there
are
should
putting
be a
her
response.
through
I mean,
is
Yeah, of course there should be.
unconscionable.
Like,
right.
But
I
then
feel
she
like
loses
that shouldn't be
left.
that
have
hard
not,
to
the
say.
majority
Like,
of Americans
the obvious
believe in a
restriction
woman's
is like
right to make
16
decisions
weeks,
about her
maybe
own
20,
body.
you know, around
And that
there,
is
4 to 5
why
months.
Yeah,
in every
and
state
most
where
people
this
agree with
issue
that.
has been on the
Even
ballot
most
in
In
red
5
and
months,
blue
liberals.
states
pushing
both,
it
the
a bit,
people
in my
of
opinion.
America have voted for freedom.
Vice President Harris,
Excuse me, I
thank
have
you.
to respond. Another lie. It's another lie. I have been a leader on IVF, which is fertilization. The IVF, I have been a leader.
Well, shit,
In
then
fact,
let the people vote
when
for
they got
freedom,
a
then.
very negative decision on IVF from the Alabama courts, I saw the people of Alabama and the legislature 2 days later voted it in. I've been a leader on it. They know that, and everybody else knows it. I have been a leader on fertilization, IVF. And the other thing, you should ask, will she allow abortion in the 8th month, 9th month, 7th month?
Come on.
Okay, would you do that? Why don't you ask her
Why-
that
why
question?
don't you answer
That's the
the
problem.
question, would you
because
veto?
under Roe v.
Answer
Wade,
the question, would you veto?
you could do abortions in the 7th
Honestly,
month,
these are both
the
good
8th
questions.
month,
They should both
the 9th
answer them.
month,
That's not true.
and probably after birth. Just look at the former governor
agree.
of Virginia.
They
the
are both
governor
dancing
of
around the
Virginia said we
questions.
put the
They both
baby
like
aside
yapping.
and then we
yeah, I
determine what
hate
we
when
want to do with the
politicians
baby.
do
President Trump, thank you.
We're going to turn now to immigration and border
The problem
security.
is she
We know it's an
doesn't
issue that's
answer it.
important to Republicans,
Yeah. Well, neither
Democrats,
of them
voters
did, to be
across the
honest,
board in this country. Vice President Harris,
I
you were
mean,
tasked by President
it's-
Biden
Well, no, he
with getting
answered
to
it,
the
because he
root causes
answered-
of
see, this is the
migration
thing.
from Central
Send it back
America.
to the States
We know that
is
illegal
the
border
answer.
crossings reached
Whereas
a record high
he is
in
like,
the
okay,
Biden
you're going to not
administration.
send
This
back to the
past
state.
June,
What is your
President
answer?
Biden
And she
imposed
doesn't.
tough new asylum restrictions. We know the numbers since then have dropped
I
significantly.
don't know. So far,
But my question to you
rocking her.
tonight is, why did
He's
the
not
administration
Bidening
wait
it.
until
I will
6
say
months
that,
before
but
the
I
election
do
to
like
act?
the whole I'm
And
a
would you
leader
have
on
done anything
fertilization
differently from
from
President
Trump.
Biden on this?
So I'm the
he
only
is.
person
Government
on this
pussy.
stage who has prosecuted transnational criminal organizations for the trafficking of guns, drugs, and human beings. And let me say that the United States Congress, including some of the most conservative members of the United States Senate, came up with a border security bill, which I supported. And that bill would have put 1,500 more border agents on the border to help those folks who are working there right now overtime, trying to do their job. It would have allowed us to stem the flow of fentanyl coming into the United States. I know there are so many families watching tonight who have been personally affected by the surge of fentanyl in our country. That bill would have put more resources to allow us to prosecute transnational criminal organizations for trafficking in guns, drugs, and human beings. But you know what happened to that bill? Donald Trump got on the phone, called up some folks in Congress, and said, kill the bill. And you know why? Because he'd prefer to run on a problem instead of fixing a problem.
This is completely
and
true. yeah.
understand,
I
this
recall following
comes
the story.
at a time
Yeah, there's
where the
asterisks
people
as
of
well.
our
Wasn't that
country
bill tied to
actually
Ukraine
need a
funding?
leader
It was tied to
who
a ton of
engages
other
in
stuff.
solutions.
That's okay, though.
Who
That's
actually
that's the art of the
addresses
deal, man.
the
You make
problems
deals.
at hand.
It is, but
what
it's like a
we
little
have in the former
disingenuous to say,
president
like,
is
they
someone
just
who would
killed,
prefer to
like,
run
the
on a
border
problem
protection stuff.
instead of
So
fixing a
much more than
problem.
that.
And
But
I'll
yes,
tell you
this is,
something,
like,
he's
based
going to
to
talk
her
about
and good,
immigration a lot
but-
tonight, even when it's not the subject that is being raised. And I'm going to actually do something really unusual, and I'm going to invite you to attend one of Donald Trump's rallies, because it's a really interesting thing to watch. You will see during the course of his rallies, he talks about fictional characters like Hannibal Lecter. He will talk about windmills cause cancer. And what you will also notice is that people start leaving his rallies early out of exhaustion and boredom. And I will tell you, the one thing you will not hear him talk about is you. You will not hear him talk about your needs, your dreams, and your desires. And I'll tell you, I believe you deserve a president who actually puts you first. And I pledge to you that I will.
Vice President Harris, thank you. President Trump, on that point, I want to get your response.
Man, I think you guys are like 30 seconds behind me.
Why did you try to kill that bill, and successfully so? That would have put thousands of additional agents and officers on the border.
That was just speeding ahead.
She said people start leaving. People don't go to her rallies. There's no reason to go. And the people that do go, she's busing them in and paying them to be there.
Yeah.
And
So
then
showing
them
them
in a different light.
Sure. I'll share
She can't
my
talk
screen.
about that. People don't leave my rallies.
Unless
We
you
have
have
the
your
biggest
commie
rallies, the
resources
most
giving
incredible
you
rallies in the
advanced
history of
info.
politics. That's because people
Just
want to
paused
take
it for like
their
5
country
seconds.
back.
Okay, there it is.
Our country is
Can you hear
being
it?
lost. We're a failing nation. And it
Thank
happened
you, Devlin.
3.5 years ago. And what's going on here, you're going to end up in World War III, just to go into another subject.
No problem.
What they have done to our country by allowing these millions and millions of people to come into our country, and look at what's happening to the towns all over the United States. And a lot of towns don't want to talk. It's not going to be Aurora or Springfield. A lot of towns don't want to talk about it because they're so embarrassed by it. In Springfield, they're eating the dogs, the people that came in. They're eating the cats. They're eating
We were
the
talking
There
about
was
this earlier.
apparently-
of the people that
There was
live
a report
there.
of
And this is what's
someone
happening
saying
in
that
our
she found
country.
her
And it's a
neighbor,
shame. As far as
with her cat
rallies are concerned,
hanging
as
on the
far as
tree
the
drying.
reason they go
Yep.
is they
Some
like
people
what
have
I
said
say.
this, yeah.
They want to bring our country back. They want
Don't
to
eat
make
pets?
America great again. It's a very simple phrase, make America great again. She's destroying
But
this country.
apparently,
And if she becomes president,
Ohio, well,
this country
Springfield has
doesn't
been
have a
having a
chance
issue
of success.
since,
Not only
what,
success,
last year?
will end up being Venezuela on steroids.
Yeah, but the police have
I just
found
want to
no
clarify here. You
credible
bring up
evidence of it,
Springfield,
so it's-
Ohio, and
Right
ABC
now
News
it's
did
just
reach out to the
people
city
saying-
manager
This isn't
there.
like just
He told
pet
us
thing.
there have been
It's
no
also
credible
just, like,
reports
crime,
of specific
like,
claims of pets being harmed,
yeah, one
injured, or
Haitian
abused by
immigrant with a
individuals
invalid
within the
license,
immigrant community.
ran
People
into
on
a
television.
school
Let me just
bus,
say here, this is
killed
the
an
people on
11-year-old,
television
This is
and
my
injured
dog
20
was
other
taken
kids.
and used for food. So maybe he said that, and maybe that's a good
Yeah.
thing to say for a city manager.
I'm not taking this from
But the
television.
people
I'm
on
taking it from
television
the city
saying their
manager.
dog was eaten by the people that went there.
Again, the Springfield city manager says there's no evidence of that.
Dogs
Vice President
taste
Harris,
like
I'll let you
beef, to be
respond to the
honest.
rest of what you've heard.
You talk
I
about
know.
extreme. You know, this is, I
Listen,
think, one of the
sometimes you go
reasons why
overseas,
in
you try new
this
things.
election, I actually have the endorsement of 200 Republicans who have formally worked with President Bush, Mitt Romney, and John McCain, including the endorsement of former Vice President Dick Cheney and Congress member Liz Cheney. And if you want to really know the inside track on who the former president is, if he didn't make it clear already, just ask people who have worked with him. His former chief of staff, a 4-star general, has said he has contempt for the Constitution of the United States. His former national security advisor has said he is dangerous and unfit. His former Secretary of Defense has said the nation, the republic, would never survive another Trump term. And when we
is probably all
listen to
true,
this kind of rhetoric, when
This
the
is gonna be all
issues that
this is gonna be all,
affect
like,
the
Eastern
American
related shit.
people are not being
Yeah, it
addressed,
doesn't reflect
I
well
think
on
the
him.
choice is clear in this election.
President Trump, I'll give you a quick minute
I
to
still
respond.
don't like
loyal.
Kamala. I think she's fucking terrible.
Thank you,
but-
because when I hear that, see, I'm a different kind of a person. I fired most of those people, not so graciously. They did bad things or a bad job. I fired them. They
That's
never
quite the
fired
spin
one
on it.
person. They didn't fire anybody having to do with Afghanistan and the Taliban and the 13 people who's were just killed, viciously and violently killed. And I got to know the parents and the family. They didn't fire. They should have fired all those generals, all those top people, because that was one of the most incompetently handled situations
Same
anybody
response last
has
time, but
ever
still a
seen.
good response.
So when somebody does a bad job, I fire him. And you take a guy like Esper, he was no good, I fired him, so he writes a book. Another one writes a book, because with me they can write books, with nobody else can they. But they have done such a poor job, and they never fire anybody. Look at the economy. Look at the inflation. They didn't fire any of their economists. They have the same people. That's a good way not to have books written about you. But
We've had
just to
record
finish,
high
I got more
growth,
votes
by the
than
way.
any Republican in history.
Also, inflation
by far.
takes like if you're printing
In
money,
fact,
it takes
I got
like
more
2
votes
years to
than
kick
any
in.
president,
And
sitting
Trump caused a
president
fair amount of the
in
inflation.
history
So did Biden,
by far.
but so did Trump. They both did.
Let me continue on immigration. It was what you wanted to talk about earlier, so let's get back
candidates.
to your deportation proposal that the vice president has reacted to as well. President Trump, you call this the largest domestic deportation operation in the history of our country. You say you would use the National Guard. You say if things get out of control, you'd have no problem using the U.S. military.
Police, yes.
You also said you would
We
use
have
local
breaking
police.
news from Lum Lum.
How would
Chris
you
Chan endorses
deport
Kamala
11
Harris.
million
It's
undocumented
over.
immigrants? And
Oh,
now
no.
you believe that number is much higher. Take us through this. What does this look like? Will authorities be going door to door in this country?
Yeah. It is much higher because of them. They allowed criminals, many
God, please
millions
lean
of
into the
criminals.
microphone and say one at
They
a
allowed
time.
terrorists. They allowed common street criminals. They allowed people to come in, drug dealers, to come into our country. And they're now in the United States and told by their countries like Venezuela, don't ever come back or we're going to kill you. Do you know that crime in Venezuela and crime in countries all over the world is way down? You know why? Because they've taken their criminals off the street and they've given them to her to put into our country. And this will be one of the greatest mistakes in history for them to allow. And I think they probably did it because they think they're going to get votes, but it's not worth it because they're destroying the fabric of our country by what they've done. There's never been anything done like this at all. They've destroyed the fabric of our country. Millions of people let in, and all over the world, crime is down all over the world except here. Crime here is up and through the roof, despite their fraudulent statements that they made. Crime in this
crime might
country
be
is
up in Europe,
through the
Trump.
roof. And we have a new form of crime. It's called migrant crime, and it's happening at levels that nobody thought possible.
President Trump, as you know, the FBI says overall violent crime is actually coming down in this country. But Vice
Excuse me,
President
the
Harris,
FBI they were defrauding statements. They didn't include the worst cities. They didn't include the cities with the worst crime. It was a fraud, just like their number of 818,000 jobs that they said they created turned out to be a fraud.
President Trump,
like giving the FBI their data anymore.
Well, I think this is so rich
Because it's not
coming
mandatory.
from someone who has been prosecuted
Crazy.
for national security crimes, economic crimes, election interference, has been found liable for sexual assault, and his next big court appearance is in November at his own criminal sentencing. And let's be clear where each person stands on the issue of what is important about respect for the rule of law and respect for law enforcement. The former vice president called for defunding federal law enforcement, 45,000 agents, get this, on the day after he was arraigned on 34 felony counts. So let's talk about what is important in this race. It is important that we move forward, that we turn the page on this same old tired rhetoric and address the needs of the American people, address what we need to do about the housing shortage, which I have a plan for, address what we must do to support our small businesses, address bringing down the price of groceries. But frankly, the American people are exhausted with this same old tired playbook.
Vice President Harris, thank you.
Excuse me. Every one of those cases
This
was
has
started
nothing
by
to do with
them against
immigration.
their political opponent. And I'm winning most of them, and I will win the rest on appeal. And you saw that with the decision that came down just recently from the Supreme Court. I'm winning most of them. But those are cases, it's called weaponization. Never happened in this country. They weaponized the Justice Department. Every one of those cases was involved with the DOJ, from Atlanta and Fani Willis to the Attorney General of New York and the DA in New York. Every one of those cases. And then they say, oh, he's a criminal. They're the ones that made them go after me. By the way, Joe Biden was found essentially guilty on the documents case. And what happened in my documents case? They said, oh, that's the toughest of them all. A complete and total victory. 2 months ago, it was thrown out. It's weaponization, and they used it, and it's never happened in this country. They used it to try and win an election. They're fake cases.
President Trump, thank you.
That might have
Really
been
quick
Trump's
response to
worst
Vice President
segment
Harris on
because I
this
know the most
notion of
about it.
weaponization of
But
the
holy
Justice
fuck.
Department.
Yeah, that's
Well, let's talk about
crazy.
extreme and understand the context in which this election in 2024 is taking place. The United States Supreme Court recently ruled that the former president would essentially be immune from any misconduct if he were to enter the White House again. Understand, this is someone who has openly said he would terminate, I'm quoting, terminate the Constitution of the United States, that he would weaponize the Department of Justice against his political enemies. Someone who has openly expressed disdain for members of our military. Understand what it would mean if Donald Trump were back in the White House with no guardrails, because certainly we know now the court won't stop him. We know J.D. Vance is not going to stop him. It's up to the American people.
Vice President
stop
Harris.
him.
Thank you.
I mean,
Lindsay?
Vice
some
President
Americans want
Harris,
there to be
in
a
your
king.
last run for president.
This is the one that weaponized, not
They're
me.
all my Twitter
She
followers.
weaponized. I probably took a bullet to the head
Actually,
because
listen,
of
I love Yellow
the
Flash
things
when he
that
was
they
in the
say
chat,
about
Arch,
me.
being like,
They
we
talk
want Trump
about
as king.
Democracy.
That's
I'm
not a good
threat to
idea, dude.
democracy. They're the threat
I don't know about
to
that.
democracy with a
President
fake
Trump.
Russia investigation
We do have a lot to
that
get.
went nowhere.
We have a lot to get to. Lindsay?
Yep.
Vice President Harris, in your last run for president, you said you wanted to ban fracking. Now you don't. You wanted mandatory government buyback programs for assault weapons. Now your campaign says you don't. You supported decriminalizing border crossings. Now you're
Yeah,
taking
Kamala's
a harder
flipped on a
line.
lot
I
of
know you
things
say
since
that your
2020,
values
like a
have
whole
not
bunch.
Yeah,
changed.
that's
So then
true.
why have so many of your policy positions changed?
She's
So
had some
my
crazy
values have not
policy
changed, and I'm going to
positions.
discuss
Wow.
every one of the, at least every point that you've made. But in particular,
Oh,
let's
no,
talk
she's
about
gonna
fracking
stumble on
because we're
this.
here in Pennsylvania. I made that very clear in 2020. I will not ban fracking. I have not banned fracking as Vice President of the United States. And in fact, I was the
having a hard
tie-breaking
time now.
vote on the
As if
Inflation
she had that
Reduction
power.
Act, which opened new leases for fracking. My position is that we have got to invest in diverse sources of energy so we reduce our reliance on foreign oil. We have had the largest increase in domestic oil production in history because of an approach that recognizes that we
how
cannot
are you gonna pay for
over-rely on
that?
foreign oil. As it relates to my values, let me tell you, I grew up a middle-class kid raised by a hardworking mother who worked and saved and was able to buy our first home when I was a teenager. The values I bring to the importance of home ownership, knowing not everybody got handed $400 million on a silver platter and then filed bankruptcy 6 times, is a value that I bring to my work to say we are going to work with the private sector and home builders to increase 3 million homes, increase by 3 million homes by the end of my first term. My work that is related to having a friend when I was in high school who was sexually assaulted by her stepfather. And my focus then on protecting women and children from violent crime is based on a value that is deeply grounded in the importance of standing up for those
My
who are
work
most vulnerable.
related to
My
having a
work
friend.
that is about protecting Social Security and Medicare is based on long-standing work that I have done, protecting seniors from scams. My values have not changed. And what is important is that there is a president who actually brings values and a perspective that is about lifting people up and not beating people down and name-calling. The true measure of the leader is the leader who actually understands the strength is not in beating people down, it's in lifting people up.
Oh,
I
that
intend
is
to be
fucking
that
rich.
president.
President Trump,
Also,
your
she-
First of all, I wasn't
She's
given
stumbling
400
kinda
million
like a
dollars. I wish I
drunk
was.
person
My
would.
father was a Brooklyn builder,
I know
Brooklyn,
he-
Queens.
there's been, like, rumors
and
of
a
her
great
having alcohol
father, and I learned a
problems.
lot from him, but I was given a fraction of that, a tiny
Nah,
fraction.
she's just
and I built
stressed
it
because
into
she knows
many,
she's
many
lying through her
billions of
fucking
dollars,
teeth
many,
right
many
now.
billions. And when people
She's
see
probably
it, they
trying to
are
remember what
even
she
surprised.
memorized.
So we don't have to
Probably,
talk
yes.
about that. Fracking, she's been against it for 12 years. Defund the police. She's been against that forever. She gave all
She's been
that
for
stuff
that, you mean,
up
Trump.
very wrongly, very
Oopsie.
horribly, and everybody's laughing at it, okay? They're all laughing at it. She gave up at least 12 and probably
Defund the
14 or
police,
50
she's been against
different
that.
policies.
No,
Like,
no, Trump.
She was
No,
big
Trump.
on defund the police. In Minnesota, she went out, wait a minute, I'm talking now, if you don't mind, please.
Speaking, by the way.
Does that sound familiar? She went out. She went
This
out
is getting awkward.
in Minnesota
This
and wanted to
this
let
isn't
criminals
okay.
that killed people.
This wasn't the
that
snappy,
burned down
fun
Minneapolis.
exchange from
She went
2016.
out to
This is
raise
just
money to get
weird.
them out of jail. She did things that nobody would ever think of. Now she wants to do transgender operations on illegal aliens that are
He
in
did
prison.
do that.
This is a radical left liberal that
Wait,
would do
hold on.
this. She wants to
Transgender
confiscate
operations
your
on
guns,
illegal
and
aliens.
she will
Wouldn't
never
you
allow
support that
fracking
because
in
you hate illegal
Pennsylvania.
aliens and you don't
If she
like
won
trans
the
stuff?
election, fracking in Pennsylvania will end on
Maybe
day
he
one.
means, like,
Just
paid
to
for
finish
with
one thing,
government
so
money.
important in my
Maybe.
opinion. So I got the
Trump,
oil
you got to rein it
business
in,
going
buddy. You're
like
kind of just like
nobody has ever
spilling all
done
the talking
before.
points, just mixing them up.
When they took over,
Right.
they got rid of it, started getting rid of it, and the prices were going up the roof. They immediately let these guys go to where they were. I would have been 5 times, 4 times, 5 times higher, because you're talking about 3.5 years ago. They got it up to where I was because they had no choice, because the prices of energy were quadrupling and doubling. You saw what happened to gasoline. So they said, let's go back to Trump. But if she won the election, the day after that election, they'll go back to destroying our country, and oil will be dead, fossil fuel will be dead. We'll go back to windmills, and we'll go back to solar, where they need a whole desert to get some energy to come out of it. You ever see a solar plant? By the way, I'm a big fan of solar, but they take 400, 500 acres of desert
President
soil.
Trump, we have a
These
lot
are
of
not good
issues
things
that we
for the
have to get
environment
to.
that
We're
she
out of time.
understands.
Thank you.
Lindsay, thank you. We have an
build
election
nuclear,
in
guys.
just
Come on.
56 days.
Yeah.
And I
Nuclear.
want to talk about the peaceful
And build
transfer
oil
of
where it
power,
makes
which,
sense.
of course, we all know is a cornerstone of our democracy and the role of a president in a moment of crisis. Mr. President, on January 6th, you told your supporters to march to the Capitol. You said you would be right there with them. The country and the world saw
Here
what
we
played out in
go.
the Capitol that day, the officers coming under attack. Aides in the West Wing say you watched it unfold on television off the Oval Office. You did send out tweets, but it was more than 2 hours before you sent out that video message telling your supporters to go home. Is there anything you regret about what you did on that day?
You just said
Eastman
a
memos.
thing that isn't covered. Peacefully and patriotically, I said during my speech, not later on. Peacefully and patriotically. And nobody on the other side was killed. Ashley Babbitt was shot by an out-of-control police officer that should have never, ever shot her. It's a disgrace.
She was breaking through
We
a
didn't
fucking
do
window
this group of
into the
people
building,
that have been
dude.
treated so badly. I ask, what about all the people that are pouring into our country and killing people that she allowed to pour in? She was the border czar. Remember that. She was the border czar. She doesn't want to be called the border czar because she's embarrassed by the border. In fact, she said at the beginning, well, I'm surprised you're not talking about the border yet. That's because she knows what a bad job they've done. What about those people? When are they going to be prosecuted? When are these people from countries all over the world, not just South America? They're coming in from all over the world, David. All over the world.
This
And
isn't
crime
an
rates
answer
are
to the
down
January
all over the
6th
world
question.
because of it.
But
let me
back to
When are those-
immigration.
David, when are those people going to be
Not at
prosecuted?
all.
When are the
I
people
don't
that
know.
burned down
I'm-
Minneapolis going to be prosecuted? Or in
Ice cream.
Seattle?
So how
They
funny
went
you
into
guys.
Seattle.
Are you
They
leaving,
took over a
Louis?
big
Hi.
percentage of the city of
Yes, I
Seattle.
gotta
When are those
eat before
people
my
going to be
ball escape
prosecuted?
stream. I'm gonna
Have
make a
fun.
video
Let me
on
just
this
ask
You
later.
might ask her that
You
question.
Have
were
fun
the
eating
president.
fat
You were
food.
watching it unfold on
It was nice
television. It's
meeting
a very
you.
simple question as we
Likewise.
move forward toward another
Oh,
election.
can you
Is there
drop your
anything you
Twitter
regret
in
about
one
what
of the
you did
chats
on
so I
that
can
day?
follow you?
Yeah.
Yes,
send
sir.
it
I
to
had
you.
nothing to do with that
Drop the not
other
safe for
than
work
they
one.
asked me to make a speech. I showed up for a speech. I said,
Even
I think it's
faster.
I mean,
going
I
to
can
be
give her
big.
my not safe
I
for
went
work
to
one.
Nancy
Anyways,
Pelosi and the
I'll talk to
mayor
you guys
of
later.
Washington,
Bye.
See
D.C.,
ya.
Bye.
and the mayor put it back in writing, as you know. I said, you know, this is going to be a very big rally or whatever you want to call it. And again, it wasn't done by me. It was done by others. I said, I'd like to give you 10,000 National Guard or soldiers. They rejected me. Nancy Pelosi rejected me. It was just 2 weeks ago. Her daughter has a tape of her saying she is fully responsible for what happened. They want to get rid of that tape. It would have never happened if Nancy Pelosi and the mayor of Washington did their jobs. I wasn't responsible for security. Nancy Pelosi was responsible. She didn't do her job.
The question was about you as president, not about former Speaker Pelosi, but I do want Vice President Harris to respond here.
I was at the Capitol on January 6th. I was the vice president-elect. I was also an acting senator. I was there. And on that day, the President of the United States incited a violent mob to attack our nation's capital, to desecrate our nation's capital. On that day, 140 law enforcement officers were injured, and some died. And understand, the former president has been indicted and impeached for exactly that reason.
I don't know about
But
that.
this is not an isolated
He was
situation.
impeached, wasn't he?
Let's
Yeah, no,
remember
that's
Charlottesville,
true.
where there was a mob of people carrying tiki torches,
Don't
there's
go
like
back to
this
Charlottesville.
spewing
You're going to lose this one.
anti-Semitic hate. And what did
Oh,
the
there we go,
president
Charlottesville.
then at the time say? There were fine people on each side.
Oh,
Let's
the tiki
remember,
torches.
Yeah, don't.
That when it came to the
You
Proud
must have
Boys,
like
a
polling
militia.
data that says this point.
The
polls really
president
low.
said, the former
So they keep
president
bringing
said,
it up.
stand back
It's not
and
true.
The
stand
fine
back.
people hoax.
So
the
for
Holy
everyone
Grail.
watching who remembers what January 6th was, I say we don't have to go back. Let's not go back. We're not going back. It's time to turn the page. And if that was a bridge too far for you, well, there is a place in our campaign for you to stand for country, to stand for our democracy, to stand for rule of law, and to end the chaos, and to end the approach that is about attacking the foundations of our democracy because you don't like the outcome. And be clear on that point. Donald Trump, the candidate, has said in this election there will be a bloodbath if this and the outcome of this election is not to his liking. Let's turn the page on this. Let's not go back.
Yeah, the
Let's
problem is
chart
that
a course
she's
for
factually
the
correct, but
future
she's really overplaying
and
her
not
hand.
go
And it's
backwards
not
to the
working out for her.
past.
Let me just follow up here.
It was a different term, and it was a term that related to energy.
She
because
made
they've
a good
destroyed
argument, and
our
then she
energy
lied.
business. That was where
Which is what
bloodbath
she's
was.
done
Also,
several times now,
on
undermining her
Charlottesville,
point.
That story has been, as you would say, debunked. Laura Ingraham, Sean Hannity, Jesse, all of these people, they covered it. If they go an extra sentence, they will see it was perfect. It was debunked in almost every newspaper, but they still bring it up, just like they bring 2025 up. They bring all of this stuff up. I ask you this. You talk about the Capitol. Why are we allowing these millions of people to come through on the southern border? How come she's not doing anything? And I'll tell you what I would do, and I would be very proud to do it. I would say we would both leave this debate right now.
Yeah.
I'd like to see her go down
I think he's dodging
to Washington,
talking about
D.C.
January
during
6th.
this
He's
debate
weak on
because
it,
we're
he knows
wasting
it.
a lot of time. Go down to, because she's been so bad, it's so ridiculous. Go down to Washington, D.C. and let her sign a bill to close up the border because they have the right to do it. They don't need bills. They have the right to do it. The President of the United States, you'll get him out of bed, you'll wake him up at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, you'll say, come on down to the office, let's sign a bill. If he signs a bill that the border is closed, all he has to do is say it to the Border Patrol, who are phenomenal. If they do that, the border is closed.
Mr.
Those
President,
people are killing many people, unlike J6.
We talked immigration here tonight. I do want to focus on this next issue to both of you because it really brings us this into focus, truth in these times that we're living in. Mr. President, for 3.5 years after you lost the 2020 election, you repeatedly falsely claimed that you won, many times saying you won in a landslide. In the past couple of weeks leading up to this debate, you have said, quote, you lost by a whisker, that you, quote, didn't quite make it, that you came up a little bit short.
I said that?
Are you now acknowledging
that?
that
I
you
watched you
lost
say
in
it. You did,
2020?
yeah.
Holy fuck.
I
you
said
did
that
say
sarcastically. You know that. It was said, we lost
my
by a whisker.
God.
That was said sarcastically. Look,
This is so Trump.
there's so much proof. All you have to do is look at it. And they should have sent it back to the legislatures for approval. I got almost 75 million votes, the most votes any sitting president has ever gotten. I was told if I got 63, which was what I got in 2016, you can't be beaten. The election, people should never be thinking about an election as fraudulent. We need two things. We need walls. And we have to have
This
it.
comes
We have to
across
have
as
borders,
harassing.
and we have to
ABC
have
is
good
bringing up
elections.
this one
Our
specific thing
elections
just
are
for Trump
bad.
after the other
And a lot of
specific
these
thing
illegal
after Trump.
immigrants coming in, they're
This
trying
only
to
makes
get them
Trump
to
look
vote.
good.
They can't even speak English.
He's
They don't
right
even know
about
what
needing
country they're
borders
in
and good
practically.
elections,
And these
but, like,
people are trying
he
to
is
get them to vote.
undermining that
And
with the
that's why
Eastman
they're
memos.
allowing them to come into our country.
I did watch all of these pieces of video. I didn't detect the sarcasm, lost by a whisker. We didn't quite make it. And we should just point out here as clarification, and you know this, you and your allies, 60 cases in front of many judges, many of them
No
were
judge
elected.
looked at
Freeman's
it.
show,
And
right?
They
was
said
no
we
one
didn't have
saw red flag.
standing.
Yeah,
That's the
I
other
saw
thing.
that.
They said we didn't have standing, a technicality. Can you imagine a system where a person in
Technicalities
an
are
election
important,
doesn't
Trump.
have standing?
Oh
The
my God.
president of the United States
Yeah.
doesn't have standing. That's how
Law
we
matters.
lost. If you look at the facts, and I'd love to have you'll do a special on it. I'll show you Georgia, and I'll show you Wisconsin, and I'll show you Pennsylvania.
This is a
and I'll
terrible
show you-
attack
We
angle for
have so
ABC.
many
You're
facts
making
and
him look at
statistics, but
I
you know
don't
what?
fucking
That
care.
doesn't
This is
matter.
another
Because we
haranguing
have to
attack
solve
on
the
Trump
problem
that he
we
can
have right
easily
now.
wave
That's old
away.
news.
I don't
And
agree.
the
Archie.
problem
This is
that we
dumb.
have
I
right
don't
now
agree.
is we have a nation
Listen, in America,
decline,
God damn it, we
and they
care
have put it
about law,
into decline.
right?
We have a
Trump
nation
sounds
that
like he's
is
floundering
dying,
right now.
David.
Mr. President, thank
He
you.
does not at
Vice
all.
President Harris, you heard the president there tonight. He said he didn't
He
say
sounds
that
like
he
in
lost
his
by
under
whisker, so
attack on a
still,
news station. He
believes,
said would
he did
attack
not
him.
lose the election.
I mean, that is true.
was won by President Biden
factually, he's
and
incorrect
yourself.
here, and he doesn't seem to
But
have
I do
an
want to ask you
answer
about
for any of it.
something that's come up in the last couple of days. This was a post from President Trump about this upcoming election just weeks away. He said, when I win, those people who cheated, and then he lists donors, voters, election officials, he says will be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law, which will include long-term prison sentences. One of your campaign's top lawyers responded saying, we won't let Donald Trump intimidate us. We won't let him suppress the vote. Is that what you believe he's trying to do here?
Donald Trump was fired by 81 million people. So let's be clear about that. And clearly he is having a very difficult time processing that. But we cannot afford to have a president of the United States who attempts, as he did in the past, to upend the will of the voters in a free and fair election.
I mean, in terms of the facts,
this isn't even a softball. This is a, hey, please attack your opponent.
Yeah, no, I get it, yeah. Like,
and
they do that
leaders are laughing at Donald
factually,
Trump.
they're correct,
I have
but it's not
military
moderate place to do
some
this.
of whom worked with you, and they say you're a disgrace. And when you then talk in this way, in a presidential debate and deny
they aren't laughing in Germany.
What over and over again are court cases you have lost because you did, in fact, lose that election. It leads one to believe that perhaps we do not have in the candidate to my right the temperament or the ability to not be confused about fact. That's deeply troubling, and the American people deserve better.
I'll give you 1 minute to respond, Mr. President.
Let me just say about world leaders. Viktor Orban, one of the most respected men, they call him a strong man. He's a tough person, smart. Prime Minister of Hungary. They said, why is the whole world blowing up? 3 years ago, it wasn't. Why is it blowing up? He said, because you need Trump back as president. They were afraid of him. China was afraid, and I don't like to use the word afraid, but I'm just quoting him. China was afraid of him. North Korea was afraid of him. Look at what's going on with North Korea, by the way.
The world leaders
he
thing
said
is
Russia
nonsense.
was afraid
China
of him.
was afraid of him. North Korea was afraid of him. Russia was afraid of him.
And Biden
no
put
one
it
is
back
afraid
on
of
day
Biden.
one, but
no
he
one is
ended
afraid
the
of
XL
Hillary
pipeline.
Hillary.
The XL pipeline in our country, he ended that. But he let the Russians build a pipeline going all over Europe and heading into Germany, the biggest pipeline in the world. Look, Viktor Orban said it. He said the most respected, most feared person is Donald Trump. We had no problems when Trump was president. But when this weak, pathetic man that you saw at a debate just a few months ago, that if he weren't in that debate, he'd be running instead of her. She got no votes. He got 14 million votes. What you did, you talk about a threat to democracy. He got 14 million votes, and they threw him out of office. And you know what? I'll give you a little secret. He hates her. He can't stand her. But he got 14 million votes. They threw him out. She got 0 votes. And when she ran, she was the first one to leave because she failed. And now she's running. I don't understand it, but I'm okay with it because
your time is
I think
up.
we're going to do very well.
We've got a lot more to get to.
Turning now to the Israel-Hamas war and the hostages who are still being held, Americans among them. Vice President Harris, in December, you said, Israel has a right to defend itself, but
she accused him of not having respect.
How? Saying international humanitarian law must be respected.
Must
do more to protect innocent civilians. You said that 9 months ago. Now an estimated 40,000 Palestinians are dead. Nearly 100 hostages remain. Just last week, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said there's not a deal in the making. President Biden has not been able to break through the stalemate. How would you do it?
Well, let's understand how we got here. On October 7, Hamas, a terrorist organization, slaughtered 1,200 Israelis. Many of them young people who were simply attending a concert. Women were horribly raped. And so absolutely, I said then, I say now, Israel has a right to defend itself. We would. And how it does so matters. Because it is also true, far too many innocent Palestinians have been killed. Children, mothers. What we know is that this war must end. It must end immediately, and the way it will end is we need a ceasefire deal and we need the hostages out. And so we will continue to work around the clock on that. Work around the clock, also understanding that we must chart a course for a two-state solution. And in that solution, there must be security for the
Israel has some
Israeli
serious
people
problems,
and Israel, and in
but when it
equal
comes
measure for the
to
Palestinians.
last year's
But
terrorist
the one
attack,
thing
they're
I will
pretty much 100%
assure
in the
you
right.
always, I will always give Israel the ability to defend itself, in particular as it relates to Iran and any threat that Iran and its proxies pose to Israel. But we must have a two-state solution where we can rebuild Gaza, where the Palestinians have security, self-determination, and the dignity they so rightly deserve.
President Trump, how would you negotiate with Netanyahu and also Hamas in order to get the hostages out and prevent the killing
that
of more
until the
innocent
two-state
civilians in
solution,
Gaza?
which we all fucking know by now doesn't
never
work.
Started.
Yeah, I think he's morally correct,
Russia
but
would have
idealistic.
Ever.
It's never going to
I know
happen,
Putin
but she
very
has to say
well.
it.
He would have never, and there was no threat of it either, by the way, for 4 years, have gone into Ukraine and killed millions of people when you add it up. Far worse than people understand what's going on over there. But when she mentions about Israel, all of a sudden, she hates Israel. She wouldn't even meet with Netanyahu when he went to Congress to make a very important speech. She refused to be there because she was at a sorority party of hers. She wanted to go to the sorority party. She hates Israel. If she's president, I believe that Israel will not exist within 2 years from now. And I've been pretty good at predictions, and I hope I'm wrong about that one. She hates Israel. At the same time, in her own way, she hates the Arab population because the whole place is going to get blown up. Arabs, Jewish people, Israel. Israel will be gone. It would have never happened. Iran was broke under Donald Trump.
Blown up?
Now Iran has $300 billion because they took off all the sanctions that I had.
Dude?
Iran had no money for Hamas or Hezbollah or any of the 28 different spheres of
stretching
terror.
a bit.
And they are
They
spheres
tanked,
of
like, the
terror,
Iran
horrible
deal
terror.
under
They had
his
no money.
presidency.
It was a big story, and you know it. You covered it very well, actually. They had no money for terror. They were broke. Now they're a rich nation, and now what they're doing is they're spreading that money around. Look at what's happening with the Houthis and Yemen. Look at what's going on in the Middle East. This would have never happened. I will get that settled and fast, and I'll get the war with Ukraine and Russia ended. If I'm president-elect, I'll get it done before even becoming president.
Vice President Harris, he says you hate Israel.
That's absolutely not true. I have my entire career and life supported Israel and the Israeli people. He knows that. He's trying to, again, divide and distract from the reality, which is it is very well known that Donald Trump is weak and wrong on national security and foreign policy. It is well known that he admires dictators, wants to be a dictator on day one, according to himself. It is well known that he said of Putin that he
did
can
say that,
do
Arch,
whatever
but
the
she's
hell he
stretching what he
wants
said,
and go into
for sure.
Ukraine. It is well known that he said when Russia went into Ukraine, it was brilliant. It is well known he exchanged love letters with Kim Jong-un. And it is absolutely well known that these dictators and autocrats are rooting for you to be president again because they're so clear. They can manipulate
and all
you
of this is
with
irrelevant
flattery
because
and
there was
favors.
peace
And that
under
is
Trump.
why
So here's the thing, Arch.
so many military leaders who you have worked with
There's some
have told
evidence
me
that Trump's
you are a
decision to move
disgrace.
the embassy
That
to
is
Jerusalem
why
is what
we
emboldened Hamas
understand
for
that
the attack
we
in
have to have a president
last
who is not
October, so
consistently
things
weak
take
and
time to
wrong
heat
on
up.
national
President
security,
Harris.
including the importance
his policy,
of upholding and
his
respecting
plan for
in
Israel is
highest
also
regard our
about
military.
Vice President Harris, thank you.
They're the ones, and she's the one that caused it.
Like, again,
That's weak on national
I
security
don't
by
care
allowing
at
every
all.
nation last
There was
month
peace under
for
Trump.
the year.
There was war
168 different
unrivaled
countries
under Biden.
sending people into our country. Their crime
Well,
rates
I
are way
get that
down.
point, but like,
Yeah, but it's also
Putin endorsed her
it's not
last
America's
week,
job to like
said, I
prevent
hope
every
she
war.
wins, and I think he meant it.
Well, then
Because
how
what he's
did
gotten
they
away
prevent
with
the
is
wars?
absolutely incredible. It
didn't,
wouldn't have happened
frankly.
with me. The
Oh, yes, they
leaders
did.
of other countries
America
think that they're
is the
weak
deciding
and
factor about
incompetent,
whether or
and
not
they
there
are.
is a war.
They're
If America
grossly
says, I'm on your
incompetent.
enemy's
And I just
side,
ask one
there is no
question.
war.
Why does Biden go in and kill the
America
Keystone
should generally
Pipeline
be a little
and
less
approve
involved
the
in this
single
way.
biggest deal that
America
Russia's
should
ever
be
made,
more
Nord Stream 2,
involved.
the
Yeah, I think
biggest
so, too.
pipeline
More
anywhere in
involved.
the world, going
Absolutely.
to Germany and all over Europe.
I think
Because
what
they're
we're doing in
weak
Ukraine
and
is
they're
probably
ineffective.
good, but
And
in
Biden,
terms
We
by
of
the
wouldn't
way,
have needed to
has
do
made a
this in
lot of money.
Ukraine
Thank you.
if
We
we
have a
had
lot of issues
sped
to
up,
get to.
We'll be right back with
rearm
much more of
NATO,
this historic
up-arm
ABC
it,
News
make the
presidential
Western
debate from the National
hegemony.
Constitution Center right here in Philadelphia. Back in a
no,
moment.
there's like complicated
Oh, we're on a
analysis
break
on this,
here.
but
real
like
quick.
probably not.
There is
I think
nothing
in regards-
complicated
in
about
regards
my
to Ukraine-
stick is larger than yours.
Well, here's the thing. If you are... This is kind of like the argument that conservatives will actually make, which is that the reason... Here, hold on, I'm going to mute this
Yeah, I'm
stream.
just gonna mute it too, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Also,
like,
Deb,
the
pause it
reason
for like 10
Russia
seconds, because you're
invaded
getting
at all
further ahead.
was
I don't even know how.
No, Arch,
NATO
just
encroachment.
real quick, Tefetch. Arch, just watch my stream in Discord.
Yeah, true.
No, because then I
That's
can't
what I'm
clip it
doing.
properly.
Oh no!
No.
In any case, though, just real quick, you know, I think there's a pretty solid consensus now that that Hamas was emboldened to do the October 7th terrorist attack because of Trump's decision to move the embassy to Jerusalem in Israel. Now that doesn't justify it, obviously, but if we're talking about like what do presidents do? I mean, presidents can do something, and then the effect of that thing doesn't take place till after they're out of office. Right? It happens all the time. I mean, Trump spent a shit ton of money on COVID stimulus in 2020. The effect of that didn't happen until like 2022. So yeah,
How
it's
are they
not as simple
emboldened?
as you know, Trump good, Biden bad, because things happen when they were in office. It's not that simple.
In
I
the
guess
case of
I
warfare,
haven't
it
heard this
absolutely, actually,
argument.
unironically is. Because there is many factors leading up to a war, but the war must start. It is the idea of starting the war at a set time that determines whether or not a war begins. Like, Hamas would not have attacked Israel, I do not think, if they had the full backing of the US, and they had a person who they did not know how would react in the White House. Russia would not have attacked Ukraine.
I don't know.
Okay. I don't know if that's true. Israel has historically had lots of backing from the United States, and they've also had terror attacks from Hamas. I don't know if it's as simple as like them knowing that America has, you know, Israel's back. We've had their back. We've continued to have their back. I think what, Dev, you're saying is that the movement of the embassy to Jerusalem provoked Hamas. Is that the argument?
Yeah.
Can you elaborate on that?
That's very
yeah.
true.
Okay. Yeah. Which, like,
Well, the way you can
that's
see
probably
this
true
is the
in
Yom
some
Kippur
sense.
War. The Yom Kippur War is the ideal example of this. Israel knew it was going to be attacked. Israel wanted to strike first. They asked to strike first. America said no. Why? Because Israel knows without America, it's over. It's the same for the opposition as well. As American aid began to pour in, the Arab alliance faltered. America is the big stick. America is the decider of wars in the current day, and there is no power that can go up against it. It is the absolute.
I agree that America has incredible influence, but I also think that, like, America's not invincible, and America does not have unlimited money.
In a
And as, like,
conventional
as the
war,
only
America is
American, like,
invincible.
no, it's not true. Like, Americans have this
Absolutely.
obsession with invincibility, which just doesn't really exist. Now, in terms of like people invading the United States, yeah, I think that's quite unrealistic. But in terms of like blocking all missiles or nuclear warheads from outside the world, that is like a wholly unrealistic goal of Americans. And
Which is why I said
you know,
conventional war.
yeah. So, you know, point taken. I don't think people are going to invade America, but that's like all the more reason why we need to be judicious with how we apply force globally. And I know that, like, globally, everyone kind of wants America to be on their side, but like, as the American in the chat, like, America fundamentally needs to prioritize Americans. And if we can help out, you know, especially in somewhere like Ukraine, by giving them old, you know, military weapons that we have, you know, that's a very cheap way to hurt our enemies, while also securing potentially, you know, future repayments for that. That's awesome. But like in terms of Afghanistan, in terms of the Middle East, we've been involved in a quagmire for the past 20 years. We've only just, gotten out of Afghanistan. We absolutely cannot repeat that again, no matter how much like people are, begging us to throw our sticks behind them, because there's always going to be people begging for that. And at the end of the day, like it's not America's job to make sure that, we're taking every side and everything
coming back.
across the world.
Here again, David Muir and Lindsay Davis.
Welcome back to this historic ABC News
Slowly but
presidential
surely.
debate tonight. We're going to continue here.
But
and I
no,
wanna turn to the
I'll
war in Ukraine.
give
We're
my
now
retort
2.5
real quick. We
years
can do this
into this
afterwards because
conflict.
this is an interesting one.
Sure.
It is.
America must be the big stick if America wishes to continue to be a
Putin
nation
to
in the
defend their
modern
sovereignty,
world.
their democracy.
Otherwise, it
that
will
it's in
become
America's
a
best
China
interest
at
to do
best,
so.
a
Arguing that
Russia
if
at
Putin
worst.
wins, he may be emboldened to move even
That's my
further
soundbite.
into other countries.
Now then.
You have said you would solve this war in 24 hours. You said so just before the break tonight. How exactly would you do that? And I want to ask you a very simple question tonight. Do you want Ukraine to win this war?
I want the war to stop. I want to save lives that are being uselessly,
now that's a
people
good
being
question.
killed by the millions. It's the millions. It's so much worse than the numbers that you're getting, which are fake numbers. Look, we're in for 250 billion or more because they don't ask Europe, which is a much bigger beneficiary to getting this thing done than we are. They're in for $150 billion less because Biden and you don't have the courage to ask Europe like I did with NATO. They paid billions and billions, hundreds of billions of dollars when I said, either you pay up or we're not going to protect you anymore. So that's maybe one of the reasons they don't like me as much as they like weak people. But you take a look at what's happening. We're in for 250 to 275 billion. They're into 100 to 150. They should be forced to equalize. With that being said, I want to get the war settled. I know Zelensky very well, and I know Putin very well. I have a good relationship, and they respect your president, okay? They respect me. They don't respect Biden. How would you respect him? Why? For what reason? He hasn't even made a phone call in 2 years to Putin, hasn't spoken to anybody. They don't even try and get it. That is a war that's dying to be settled. I will get it settled before I even become president. If I win, when I'm president-elect, and what I'll do is I'll speak to one, I'll speak to the other, I'll get them together. That war would have never happened. And in fact, when I saw Putin after I left, unfortunately left because our country has gone to hell. But after I left, when I saw him building up soldiers, he did it after I left, I said, oh, he must be negotiating. It must be a good, strong point of negotiation. Well, it wasn't, because Biden had no idea how to talk to him. He had no idea how to stop it. And now you have millions of people dead, and it's only getting worse, and it could lead to World War III. Don't kid yourself, David.
I don't think it's millions
We're playing
dead
with
yet.
World War III, and we have a president that we don't even know if he's... Where is our president? We don't even know if he's a president.
And just to clarify
they
here...
threw him out of a campaign like a dog. We don't even know. Is he our president? But we have a president,
Mr. President,
that doesn't
We're
know
not
he's
quite
alive.
that
your time is up.
there yet.
Just to clarify in the question, do you believe it's in the U.S. best interests for Ukraine to win this war, yes or no?
I think it's the U.S. best interest to get this war finished and just get it done.
All right.
Negotiate a deal, because we have to stop all of these human lives from being destroyed.
I want to take this to Vice President Harris. I want to get your thoughts on support for Ukraine in this moment, but also as Commander-in-Chief, if elected, how would you deal with Vladimir Putin, and would it be any different from what we're seeing from President Biden?
Well, first of all, it's important to remind the former president you're not running against Joe Biden, you're running against me. I believe the reason that Donald Trump says that this war would be over within 24 hours is because he would just give it up. And that's not who we are as Americans. Let's understand what happened here. I actually met with Zelensky a few days before Russia invaded, tried through force to change territorial boundaries, to defy one of the most important international rules and norms, which is the importance of sovereignty and territorial integrity. And I met with President Zelensky. I shared with him American intelligence about how he could defend himself. Days later, I went to NATO's eastern flank, to Poland and Romania. And through the work that I and others did, we brought 50 countries together to support Ukraine in its righteous defense. And because of our support, because of the air defense, the ammunition, the artillery, the javelins, the Abrams tanks that we have provided, Ukraine stands as an independent and free country. If Donald Trump were president, Putin would be sitting in Kyiv right now. And understand what that would mean, because Putin's agenda is not just about Ukraine. Understand why the European allies and our NATO allies are so thankful that you are no longer president, and that we understand the importance of the greatest military alliance the world has ever known, which is NATO, and what we have done to preserve the ability of Zelensky and the Ukrainians to fight for their independence. Otherwise, Putin would be sitting in Kyiv with his eyes on the rest of Europe, starting with Poland. And why don't you tell the 800,000 Polish Americans right here in Pennsylvania how quickly you would give up for the sake of favor and what you think is a friendship with what is known to be a dictator who would eat you for lunch.
Hello. Now you're
Vice President
arguing
Harris,
World
thank
War
you. We've
III,
heard from both of
Kamala.
you on Ukraine tonight. Afghanistan came up in the last hour. I wanted
Listen,
to respond
Arch,
to something you said
if
earlier.
World War
and
III
I'll-
is going to come, it's
please,
better to fight it
I'll
than
give you a
not.
minute here.
Putin would be sitting in Moscow, and he wouldn't have lost 300,000 men and women, but he would have been sitting in Moscow. Quiet, please. He would have been sitting in Moscow, much happier than he is right now. But eventually, you know, he's got a thing that other people don't have. He's got nuclear weapons. They don't ever talk about that. He's got nuclear weapons. Nobody ever thinks about that. And eventually, maybe he'll use them, and maybe he hasn't been that threatening. But he does have that, something we don't even like to talk about. Nobody likes to talk about it. But just so you understand, they sent her to negotiate peace before this war started. 3 days later, he went in and he started the war because everything they said was weak and stupid. They said the wrong things. That war should have never started. She was the emissary. They sent her in to negotiate with Zelensky and Putin, and she did. And the war started 3 days later. And that's the kind of talent we have with her. She's worse than Biden. In my opinion, I think he's the worst president in the history of our country. She goes down as the worst vice president in the history of our country. But let me tell you something. She is a horrible negotiator. They sent her in to negotiate. As soon as they left, Putin did the invasion.
President Trump, thank you. You did bring up something. You said she went to negotiate with Vladimir Putin. Vice President Harris, have you ever met Vladimir Putin? Can you clarify tonight?
Yet again, I said it at the beginning of this debate, you're going to hear a bunch of lies coming from this fellow. And that is another one. When I went to meet with President Zelensky, I've now met with him over 5 times. The reality is it has been about standing as America always should, as a leader upholding international rules and norms, as a leader who shows strength, understanding that the alliances we have around the world are dependent on our ability to look out for our friends and not favor our enemies because you adore strongmen instead of caring about democracy. And that is very much what is at stake here. The President of the United States is commander-in-chief. And the American people have a right to rely on a president who understands the significance of America's role and responsibility in terms of ensuring that there is stability and ensuring we stand up for our principles and not sell them for the benefit of personal flattery.
We've talked about Ukraine and Vladimir Putin. I do want to talk about Afghanistan. It came up in the first hour of this debate. I want to move on to Afghanistan.
Stoltenberg said Trump did the most amazing thing I've ever seen. He got these countries, the 28 countries at the time, to pay up. He said, I've never seen. He's the head of NATO. He said, I've never seen. For years, we were paying almost all of NATO. We were being ripped off by European nations, both on trade and on NATO. I got them to pay up by saying one of the statements you made before, if you don't pay, we're not going to protect you.
President
Otherwise,
Trump.
we would have never gotten it. He said it was one of the most incredible jobs.
Yes, America.
that he's ever
Yes,
seen
you
done.
were.
Thank you. I want to turn to Afghanistan. It came up in the first hour of the debate, and we witnessed a poignant moment today on Capitol Hill, honoring the soldiers who died in the chaotic withdrawal from Afghanistan. I do want to ask the Vice President, do you believe you bear any responsibility in the way that withdrawal played out?
Well, I will tell you, I agreed with President Biden's decision to pull out of Afghanistan. 4 presidents said they would, and Joe Biden did. And as a result, America's taxpayers are not paying the $300 million a day we were paying for that endless war. And as of today, there is not one member of the United States military who is in active duty in a combat zone in any war zone around the world, the first time this century. But let's understand how we got to where we are. Donald Trump, when he was president, negotiated one of the weakest deals you can imagine. He calls himself a deal maker. Even his national security advisor said it was a weak, terrible deal.
He corrected
and here's how
the
it went
Biden
down.
quote. Good.
He bypassed the Afghan government. He negotiated directly with a terrorist organization called the Taliban. The negotiation involved the Taliban getting 5,000 Taliban terrorists released. And get this, and the president at the time invited the Taliban to Camp David, a place of storied significance for us as Americans, a place where we honor the importance of American diplomacy, where we invite and receive respected world leaders. And this former president, as president, invited them to Camp David because he does not, again, appreciate the role and responsibility of the President of the United States to be commander-in-chief with a level of respect. And this gets back to the point of how he has consistently disparaged and demeaned members of our military, fallen soldiers, and the work that we must do to uphold the strength and the respect of the United States of America around the world.
Vice President Harris, thank you. President Trump, your response to her saying that you began the negotiations with the Taliban.
So if you take a look at that period of time, the Taliban was killing our soldiers, a lot of them, with snipers. And I got involved with the Taliban because the Taliban was doing the killing. That's the fighting force within Afghanistan. They don't bother doing that because, you know, they deal with the wrong people all the time. But I got involved. And Abdul is the head of the Taliban. He is still the head of the Taliban. And I told Abdul, don't do it anymore. You do it anymore, you're going to have problems. And he said, why do you send me a picture of my house? I said, you're going to have to figure that out, Abdul. And for 18 months, we had nobody killed. We did have an agreement negotiated by Mike Pompeo. It was a very good agreement. The reason it was good, it was we were getting out. We would have been out faster than them, but we wouldn't have lost the soldiers. We wouldn't have left many Americans behind, and we wouldn't have left $85 billion worth of brand new, beautiful military equipment behind. And just to finish, they blew it. The agreement said you have to do this, and they didn't do it.
I'm pretty sure a bunch of that equipment was sold off to Russia.
The agreement was terminated by us because they didn't do what they were supposed to do.
I want to move on.
And these people did the worst withdrawal, and in my opinion, the most embarrassing moment in the history of our country. And by the way, that's why Russia attacked Ukraine, because they saw how incompetent
Biden had confidence in the Afghanistan security forces, which wouldn't collapse.
I want to move on now to race and politics in this country. Mr. President, you recently said of Vice President Harris, quote, I didn't know she was black until a number of years ago when she happened to turn black, and now she wants to be known as black. I want to ask a bigger picture question here tonight. Why do you believe it's appropriate to weigh in on the racial identity of your opponent?
I don't, and I don't care. I don't care what she is. I don't care.
To be fair, Kamala has done the I'm Indian, I'm black thing a few times. You make a big deal out of something.
I couldn't care less.
Yeah, no.
Whatever she wants to be is okay with me.
But those were your words. So
I don't know.
Is both.
I don't know. I mean,
because
all you say is I
like
read where she was not black, that she put out, and I'll say that. And then I read that she was black, and that's okay. Either one was okay with me. That's up to her. That's up to her.
Vice President Harris, your thoughts on this?
I think it's, I mean, honestly, I think it's a tragedy that we have someone who wants to be president who has consistently, over the course of his career, attempted to use race to divide the American people. You know, I do believe that the vast majority of us know that we have so much more in common than what separates us, and we don't want this kind of approach that is just constantly trying to divide us, and especially by race. And let's remember how Donald Trump started. He was land, he owned land.
You're the only one talking about race here, Kamala. You and ABC are the only ones bringing up race.
He refused to rent property to black families. Let's remember, this is the same individual who took out a full-page ad in the New York Times.
What?
Calling
did
for the
Trump refuse
execution
to rent property to
of
black families? Is that true?
5 young black and Latino boys who were innocent, the Central Park 5. Took out a full-page ad calling for their execution. This is the same individual who spread birther lies about
Trump.
the first black president of the United States. And I think the American people want better than that, want better than this, want someone who understands, as I do, I travel our country. We see
Wait, this
in
happened
each
back in
other a
1973.
friend. We see in each other
Yeah,
a
she's
neighbor. We don't
deep
want
cuts.
a leader who is constantly
Park Five.
trying to have Americans point their fingers at each other. I meet with people all the time who tell me, can we please just have discourse about how we're going to invest in the aspirations and the ambitions and the dreams of the American people? Knowing that regardless of people's color or the language their grandmother speaks, we all have the same dreams and aspirations and want a president who invests in those,
No, because
not
that
in
doesn't
hate and
mean
division.
shit.
Vice President Harris, thank you. Lindsay?
President Trump, this is now your 3rd time.
This is the most divisive presidency
You don't have all the same
in
dreams
the
and
history of our
aspirations.
country. There's never been anything like it. They're destroying our country, and they come up with things like what she just said. Going back many, many years, when a lot of people, including Mayor Bloomberg, agreed with me on the Central Park 5, they admitted, they said, they pled guilty. And I said, well, if they pled guilty, they badly hurt a person, killed a person ultimately. And if they pled guilty, then they pled, we're not guilty. But this
I don't
is
know
a
the story,
person
the Central Park
that
5.
has
I don't
to
know what's going
stretch
on
back years, 40, 50 years ago, because there's nothing now. I built one of the greatest economies in the history of the world, and I'm going to build it again. It's going to be bigger, better, and stronger. But they're destroying our economy. They have no
that's
idea
right.
what a good economy
Yeah,
is.
so
Their oil
going after
policies,
Trump for the
every single policy.
1973
And remember
race
this,
thing, it's
she is
weird
Biden.
to do
You know,
that when
she's trying to
people
get
won't
away
go
from
after,
Biden.
you know,
I don't know
Biden's
the gentleman. She
predator's
says,
comment from back
she
in the
is
day.
Biden. The worst inflation we've ever had. A horrible economy
I am
because
disappointed, though,
inflation
huh?
has made it so bad.
He should have gone like,
But you can't get away with that.
Thank you.
I didn't withhold evidence for a death row convict, at least.
Briefly. Clearly, I am not Joe Biden, and I am certainly not Donald Trump. And what I do offer is a new generation of leadership for our country. One who believes in what is possible, one who brings a sense of optimism about what we can do instead of always disparaging the American people. I believe in what we can do to strengthen our small businesses, which is why I have a plan. Let's
For
talk
change's
about our
sake.
plans and let's compare the plans. I have a plan to give startup businesses $50,000 tax deduction, to pursue their ambitions, their innovation, their ideas, their hard work. I have a plan, $6,000 for young families for the first year of your child's life, to help
seem like
you
good
in that
policies,
most
to be
critical
honest.
stage of your child's development. I have a plan that is about allowing people to be able to pursue what has been fleeting in terms of the American dream by offering a help with down payment of $25,000 down payment assistance for first-time home buyers. That's the kind of conversation, I believe, David, that people really want tonight, as opposed to a conversation that is constantly about belittling.
These aren't great. Okay,
and
that last one with the
name-calling.
houses is not a great policy.
Let's turn the
Yeah,
page.
it's
Vice
true.
President
It's
Harris,
subsidizing demand.
thank you. Let's turn to
She's now
policy.
literally saying,
have to move on.
the American
President
dream
Trump,
is me
let's
giving
turn to
you
policy,
gibs. I will
Well,
give
okay,
you
no.
money for the
She
American
has
telling
a
you
dream.
that I'm
plan
not gonna
to
charge you
confiscate everybody's
yeah,
gun.
President Trump,
She
we
has
do
a
have to
plan
move
to
on to
not
other
allow
issues.
fracking in Pennsylvania or anywhere else.
Okay. Thank
you,
That's
Mr.
what her
President.
plan is until just recently.
I just need
Lindsay,
to
go ahead.
respond
President
because
Trump,
no, the
President
former
Trump.
president has
No,
said
I'm
something
sorry.
twice that I need to
No,
respond to.
I'm sorry. We're
I
going
just
to
need
move
respond
on, Vice
one
President
time
Harris.
to what he
President
has said
Trump, this
multiple
is
times.
now your third time running for president. You have long vowed to repeal and replace the Affordable Care Act, also known as Obamacare. You have failed to accomplish
The
that.
end of debate
you now
shit
say
show,
you're
it
going
always
to keep
happens.
Obamacare, quote, unless we can do something much better. Last month, you said, quote, we're working on it. So tonight, 9 years after you first started running, do you have a plan, and can you tell us what it is?
Obamacare was lousy health care, always was. It's not very good today. And what I said, that if we come up with something, and we are working on things, we're going to do it and we're going to replace it. But remember this, I inherited Obamacare because Democrats wouldn't change it. They wouldn't vote for it. They were unanimous. They wouldn't vote to change it. If they would have done that, we would have had a much better plan than Obamacare. But the Democrats came up. They wouldn't vote for it. I had a choice to make when I was president. Do I save it and make it as good as it can be, never going to be great, or do I let it rot? And I felt I had an obligation, even though politically it would have been good to just let it rot and let it go away. I decided, and I told my people, the top people, and they're very good people. I have a lot of good people in that administration. We read about the bad ones. We had some real bad ones, too, and so do they. They have really bad ones. The difference is they don't get rid of them. But let me just explain.
Come on, Trump, tighten it up.
I had a choice to make. Do I save it and make it as good as it can be, or do I let it rot? And I saved it. I did the right thing. But it's still never going to be great, and it's too expensive for people. And what we will do is we're looking at different plans. If we can come up with a plan that's going to cost our people, our population, less money and be better health care than Obamacare, then I would absolutely do it. But until then, I'd run it as good as it can be run.
So just a yes or no, you still do not have a plan?
I have concepts of a plan. I'm not president right now. But if
no, Trump, you should have a plan at this
we
point.
come up with something, I would only
it's 2
change
months
it
away.
if we come up with something that's better and less expensive. And there are concepts and
This
options
is not a
we
great
have
view.
to do
It's not a
that.
good look.
And you'll be hearing
It's like
about
when
it in the
communists are just
not-too-distant
like,
future.
It would be better.
Vice President Harris, in 2017,
Trust
you
me.
supported Bernie Sanders' proposal to do away with private insurance and create a government-run healthcare system. 2 years later, you proposed a plan that included a private insurance option. What is your plan today?
Well, first of all, I absolutely support, and over the last 4 years as vice president, private health care options. But what we need to do is maintain and grow the Affordable Care Act. But I'll get to that, Lindsay. I just need to respond to a previous point that the former president has made. I've made very clear my position on fracking. And then this business about taking everyone's guns away. Tim Walz and I are both gun owners. We're not taking anybody's guns away. So stop with the
Okay, well,
continuous
she
lying
doesn't have a
about this
plan
stuff.
either, so shit.
As it relates to the Affordable Care Act, understand, just look at the history to know where people stand. When Donald Trump was president, 60 times he tried to get rid of the Affordable Care Act. 60 times. I was a senator at the time when I will never forget the early morning hours when it was up for a vote in the United States Senate. And the late, great John McCain, who you have disparaged as being, you don't like him, you said, at the time because he got caught. He was an American hero. The late, great John McCain, I will never forget that night, walked onto the Senate floor and said, no, you don't. No, you don't. No, you don't get rid of the Affordable Care Act. You have no plan. And what the Affordable Care Act has done is eliminate the ability of insurance companies to deny people with pre-existing conditions. I don't have to tell the people watching tonight. You remember what that was like?
Man dies and suddenly all
Remember
the
when an
shit he
insurance
did is
company
forgotten.
could deny if a child had asthma, if someone was a breast cancer survivor, if a grandparent had diabetes? And thankfully, as I've been vice president and we, over the last 4 years, have strengthened the Affordable Care Act, we have allowed for the first time Medicare to negotiate drug prices on behalf of you, the American people. Donald Trump said he was going to allow Medicare to negotiate drug prices. He never did. We did. And now we have capped the cost of insulin at $35 a month. Since I've been vice president, we have capped the cost of prescription medication for seniors at $2,000 a year. And when I am president, we will do that for all people, understanding that the value I bring to this is that access to health care should be a right and not just a privilege of those who can afford it. And the plan has to be to strengthen the Affordable Care Act, not get rid of it,
Vice
pass as
President
prologue
Harris, thank
in terms
you.
of where Donald Trump stands on that.
I want to move to an issue that's important for a
She
lot
made a
of...
mistake.
Then who is going to
Number
pay
one,
for it?
John McCain fought Obamacare for 10 years. But it wasn't only him. It were all of the Democrats that kept it going. And you know what? We can do much better than Obamacare, much less money. But she won't improve private insurance for people, private medical insurance. That's another thing she doesn't want to give.
President
People
Trump.
are paying privately for insurance that have worked hard and made money, and they want to have private. She wants everybody to be on government insurance where you wait 6 months for an operation that you need immediately.
President Trump, thank you. We have another issue that we'd like to get to that's important for a number of Americans, in particular younger voters, and that's climate change. President Trump, with regard to the environment, you say that we have to have clean air and clean water. Vice President Harris, you call climate change an existential threat. The question to you both tonight is, what would you do to fight climate change? And Vice President Harris, we'll start with you. 1 minute for you each.
Well, the former president had said that climate change is a hoax. And what we know is that it is very real.
Wait,
you ask anyone who lives in a state who has experienced these extreme weather occurrences, who now is either being denied home insurance or it's being jacked up.
He just spouts
you
whatever
ask
the
anybody who has been
So I'm sure he said the opposite
victim
as
of
well.
what that
Yeah.
means in terms of losing their home, having
I don't
nowhere
recall
to
him saying
go.
it was a hoax, though.
We know that we can
might
actually
have.
deal with this issue. The young people of America care deeply about this issue. And I am proud that as vice president over the last 4 years, we have invested $1 trillion in a clean energy economy, while we have also increased domestic gas production to historic levels. We have created over 800,000 new manufacturing jobs while I have been vice president. We have invested in clean energy to the point that we are opening up factories around the world. Donald Trump said he was going to create manufacturing jobs. He lost manufacturing jobs. And I'm also proud to have the endorsement of the United Auto Workers and Sean Fain, who also know that part of building a clean energy economy includes investing in American
You are investing in clean energy by
products,
opening
American
factories across the
automobiles.
world.
It includes growing
I see.
what we can do around American manufacturing and opening up auto plants, not closing them like happened under Donald Trump.
Vice President Harris, thank you.
That didn't happen under Donald Trump. Let me
sounds
just
like
tell
something
you,
you
they
do
lost
with
10,000
tariffs.
manufacturing jobs this last month.
Oh, God, the
It's
fucking
going,
tariffs.
they're all leaving. They're building big auto plants in Mexico, in many cases owned by China. They're building these massive plants, and they think they're going to sell their cars into the United States because of these people. What they have given to China is unbelievable. But we're not going to let that. We'll put tariffs on those cars so they can't come into our country, because they will kill the United Auto Workers and any auto worker, whether it's in Detroit or South Carolina or any other place. What they've done to business and manufacturing in this country is horrible. We have nothing because they refuse. You know, Biden doesn't go after people because supposedly China paid him millions of dollars. He's afraid to do it. Between him and his son, they get all this money from Ukraine. They get all this money from all of these different countries. And then you wonder, why is he so loyal to this one, that one, Ukraine,
God,
China?
just
Why is he?
build
Why did he get
nuclear
$3.5 million
reactors.
from
That
the
needs to
mayor
be
of
the answer to
Moscow's
this.
wife? Why did she pay him
Yeah, it's very
$3.5 million? This is a crooked administration, and they're selling our country down the tubes.
President Trump, thank you.
Thank you.
We'll be right back with closing statements from both of our candidates. An historic night, this ABC News presidential debate from Philadelphia. Back in a moment.
All right, I'm muted again as the ads start rolling. Okay.
And the nuclear thing's interesting to talk about because I think there's a very real sense in which people fear nuclear because it's association with bombs, and because the technology that allows for the creation of nuclear power plants could also be like transferred into skills for bombs. So
And Chernobyl. And Fukushima.
yeah, and Chernobyl. Well, also think like these big disasters, which are they're rare enough that it's like not so much of a concern, but.
The only nuclear reactors that are dangerous nuclear reactors are the ones constructed in the Soviet Union. Or by the Japanese, who are like, this is a fault line in a tsunami zone.
To be fair, the entirety of Japan is a fault line, Archer.
Yeah,
It's a
so
little
they
bit
shouldn't
hard
get
for them.
nuclear.
Yeah, I mean, I think we certainly don't want someone like, Iran to have nuclear power plants. Like, I think that we are pretty cautious about encouraging nuclear power abroad just because we don't want everyone to have it.
This is why we need to return to the American superpower, weaponized space. The moment we get so much as a fucking reading from another nation, rod from God.
That's the way.
Yeah, I
That's the
agree.
way,
I mean,
man.
colonizing space would be awesome.
Hold on, Iran. Is that a nuclear reading I got there? I'm gonna have to glass your entire countryside. Sorry, you know the rules.
Based. Listen. 100%, I am all for American worldwide hegemony. Give it to me. It's time.
Western.
So,
you fucks can't be trusted.
Regarding the actual content of the debate, like, I don't think either of them are winning, and I don't think either of them is a particularly good candidate. I think like they're both shit for different reasons, but they're both shit.
I definitely disagree. Trump is coming out up better for the simple reason that, one, he's clearly the person under attack. He's in a hostile platform. He's 1v3. And neither of them are stumbling much, which kind of levels that up. It's like, if everything else was equal, I would say they were equal. But because this is an ABC debate, I give it to Trump.
I think I got to give it to Kamala, to be honest. And I think part of that is the format, like you're talking about. But also, I think that Kamala has done such a good job, like espousing the most moderate opinions. She was like pro-oil. She's like espousing pro-law and order positions. She seems to be morally right on Israel and Ukraine. And
morally right on Israel? Really? The two-state solution, morally right?
Well, I mean, I think it's idealistic is the problem. Like, of course, I would love for there to be a two-state solution that allows for like the safety of Israel. And I think like it's right that Israel should be able to defend itself. And, you know, it's right that the Palestinian death is like a horrible thing that like ideally we would not have. I think the problem with her is that like, you know, I think that there's like very serious practical issues with a two-state solution, and any solution wherein Palestinians, you know, do not have their fundamental moral issue solved and feel like they don't have to attack Israelis, which is going to be really hard to do without having Israel make serious compromises, which I don't think that they're going to do. They're just not in a position where they're going to do that. So.
To be honest, I think that even if Israel gave them everything they wanted, they would just want more, because the long-term goal is to get all the Jews out of the territory of Israel. Yeah. This is going to be a one-state solution.
Israel because they're Jews. Let's just make that very clear too. Yeah. Like, we've been torturing this fucking dog for 77 years. I don't think that's a moral solution anymore. At this point, you shoot the thing and move on.
Yep. So like,
God.
Well,
the thing is Palestine.
So here's the thing, right? Like, either the Palestinians take over the entire area and the place becomes another Arab country, or Israel colonizes the West Bank and the Gaza Strip, and that's it. That's how this is going to end. There will be no two-state solution in the long term.
Unfortunately, yeah, I think that's probably the most realistic scenario. Most realistic is, you know, Israel colonizes the Gaza Strip.
Yep, that'll probably be what happens.
But yeah, I mean, I would love for a two-state solution to be viable. So,
but it's not going to be viable. Here, let me jump in here because I don't think you have much time left. Everything you said is mostly true, Taftage, but the problem is that like what you're saying makes sense for, let's say, the normie viewer, but people who are plugged into politics know that all of these have been flip-flops, and she has flip-flopped on a lot of this shit, and like it all sounds kind of disingenuous coming from her.
She has done a fine job of getting rid of all of her political positions.
Yeah,
one
she's
that
moderated
is focused on the future, and the other that is focused on the past, and an attempt to take us backward.
Right, we're back.
But we're not going back. And I do believe that the American people know we all have so much more in common than what separates us. And we can chart a new way forward. And a vision of that includes having a plan, understanding the aspirations, the dreams, the hopes, the ambition of the American people, which is why I intend to create an opportunity economy, investing in small businesses, in new families, in what we can do around protecting seniors, what we can do that is about giving hardworking folks a break and bringing down the cost of living. I believe in what we can do together.
Didn't hear any concrete plan on that, though.
Sustaining America's standing in the world and ensuring that we have the respect that we so rightly deserve, including respecting our military and ensuring we have the most lethal fighting force in the world. I will be a president that will protect our fundamental rights and freedoms, including the right of a woman to make decisions about her own body and not have her government tell her what to do. I'll tell you, I started my career as a prosecutor. I was a DA, I was an attorney general, a United States senator, and now vice president. I've only had one client, the people. And I'll tell you, as a prosecutor, I never asked a victim or a witness, are you a Republican or a Democrat? The only thing I ever asked them, are you okay? And that's the kind of president we need right now. Someone who cares about you and is not putting themselves first. I intend to be a president for all Americans.
I don't know if that's what a
focus
prosecutor
on what
does,
we can do
no.
over the next 10 and 20
Yeah, asks if you're
years
okay.
to build back up our
not
country
really your
by
job.
investing right now.
I'm here to throw
in you,
your
the American
fucking ass
people.
in jail.
Vice
But are you
President
okay?
Harris, thank you.
She
President
thinks
Trump.
she's a therapist.
So she just started by saying she's going to do this, she's going to do that, she's going to do all these wonderful things. Why hasn't she done it? She's been there for 3.5 years. They've had 3.5 years to fix the border. They've had 3.5 years to create jobs and all the things we talked about. Why hasn't she done it? She should
Yep, this
leave
is a
right
good
now,
argument
go
from
down
Trump.
to that beautiful White House, go to the Capitol, get everyone together and do the things you want to do, but you haven't done it, and you won't do it because you believe in things that the American people don't believe in. You believe in things like we're not going to frack. We're not going to take fossil fuel. We're not going to do things that are going to make this country strong, whether you like it or not. Germany tried that, and within 1 year, they were back to building normal energy plants. We're not ready for it. We can't sacrifice our country for the sake of bad vision. But I just ask one simple question. Why didn't she do it? We're a failing nation. We're a nation that's in serious decline. We're being laughed at all over the world. All over the world, they're laughing. I know the leaders very well. They're coming to see me. They call me. We're laughed at all over the world. They don't understand what happened to us as a nation. We're not a leader. We don't have any idea what's going on. We have wars going on in the Middle East. We have wars going on with Russia and Ukraine. We're going to end up in a third world war, and it'll be a war like no other because of nuclear weapons, the power of weaponry. I rebuilt our entire military. She gave a lot of it away to the Taliban. She gave it to Afghanistan. What these people have done to our country,
also gave it
and
to
maybe
Ukraine,
toughest
which
of
is
all, is
based.
allowing millions of people to come into our country. Many of them are criminals, and they're destroying our country. The worst president, the worst vice president in the history of our country.
President Trump, thank you. And that is our ABC News presidential debate from here in Philadelphia at the National Constitution Center. I'm Lindsay Davis.
And I'm David Muir. Thank you for watching here in the U.S. and all over the world, and from all of us here at ABC News. Good night.
Wow.
Whoa, I've never seen this before.
Thank you.
And we are here
Okay.
live.
One of my
on
mods
Ukraine.
in my stream chat had just had their message deleted specifically by the Google moderator team.
Oh.
Oh, nice.
I wonder what you said.
They're just dropping ends.
Google's coming for you. Run and hide. Bitch, you go and get Googled.
Wow. Okay. So that was the debate. Yeah. I'll
That was a debate indeed.
stop streaming it. And I'll.
Yeah, that was quite a debate, huh?
It sure was something. I don't fucking know what though.
I mean, I think you're right, Dev. You're saying that like there's a lot of flip-flopping going on with Kamala. I mean, leading up to this debate, I've been like listening to some of the things that she's been saying, some of her policies,
And your people's chats.
and they've just seemed like so insane. But I think that she moderated a lot in the debate and looked a lot stronger than she has looked in the past.
Yeah, the issue is that if you've been following her for a while, you know that a lot of it is probably just her saying whatever the fuck she wants. Like, yeah, I don't trust it basically because I've heard her say insane, like back during like 2020 BLM, George Floyd stuff. She was saying some insane bullshit. I mean, okay, she was on the Jussie Smollett train about how like that hoax. Yeah, she was on that shit. Like, she just seems to be someone who jumps on the latest thing, no matter how fucking crazy it is. She's said some very radically left things in the past. She's now walking it all back because she's trying to appeal to the center, and I don't necessarily trust her, frankly.
Kamala Harris's greatest achievement in this debate was abandoning every piece of fucking land she's ever stood upon.
But for better land, at the very least.
Well, yeah, that's the thing. For better land. But there's the thing, though. Are we simply the rubes now? Is the snake oil salesman coming to us and going like, hey, this time it'll work?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, like, I guess it kind of hinges on like whether or not we think that she has some like real deeper agenda that she's trying to institute. And I'm not sure she does. Like, I mean, Dev, you're saying that she kind of just bandwagons. That seems plausible to me. This was like something, there was a talking point about Hillary Clinton as well, where she like seemed not to really have like deeper underlying values. And ideally, we do want a leader with deep like underlying values that represent us. So it's tragic.
She's got values. I think that's the problem.
Yeah, so
Yeah,
I mean,
maybe.
there's like there's two ways to view it, right? Like one of them
Mhm.
is when you genuinely change your mind because your opinions before were bad and you've now been more educated, you've seen the light, you've come to a different position, and so you change your mind, right? And then usually you get called a flip-flopper. That was a big thing I think in 2004 with was it, oh fuck, who was it? John Kerry? There was like I think Bush called him a flip flopper like constantly. It's like, well, hold on, don't you
Mhm.
want your opinions to change if you encounter new evidence? That makes complete sense. But then the other half of it is that your opinions didn't actually change. You simply know what to say because it's currently popular, but you're not actually going to do any of that. That's the other possibility, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, that's the thing. Like, she is a politician, and she comes across as a politician. And I've had enough of Oh, holy shit.
Huh?
Just as a slight side, Mexico has apparently gone full cray-cray, and the Senate has been stormed by angry mobs.
Oh my God.
Are they having their own January 6th?
Yep, apparently.
Not great.
Damn.
Okay, well, Mexico's having fun. That's good for Mexico.
I wanted Arch to ask you a little bit more about foreign policy because admittedly, like, you know, I'm no foreign policy expert, but I'm curious about your take and where you see people with my kind of worldview generally going wrong.
Well, you're gonna have to be a bit more specific, because I don't want to
That's true.
assume your worldview.
Yeah, well, to be fair, like I said, you know, no expert. I guess what I said earlier was that America should be like quite judicious in how it involves itself overseas. I'd be curious about where you see like the limits and the obligations of a country as powerful as America.
Well, the obligation is to itself, and in this case, it is to the West as a larger power block entity. The Western culture is the world's culture right now, and the West is in a position now to enforce its culture upon anyone it damn well pleases. And seeing as our culture is significantly, observably better than anyone else we see, we should do so. Now, how we do that is very important, because you are entirely correct. America can ill afford another Afghanistan, or Klandathu. Because that was a dumb war. It was a dumb conflict. America was trying to not win, in essence. It's the same with Vietnam. America has this problem where it will enter into a war, and then it will sit there going like, oh, but should we really be doing this? Oh,
Yeah.
no. Like, no, if you're going to do this, you're going to have to fucking do this. But America needs to maintain its hegemony, because if it doesn't, China sure as fuck is. And China has no compunctions with colonizing other nations. China is full national imperialism. They will move into an African nation, and they will turn it into Little China, where they worship the Chinese.
Yeah, well, I'm very sympathetic to the position that we need to be primarily focused on like main geopolitical rivals. So like Russia and Ukraine, like I said earlier, like that's a great opportunity to, you know, cheaply, you know, put a real dent in the Russian manpower, because we're not putting boots on the ground at the end of the day, and we are supporting Ukrainians who are going to fight like hell with weapons that we're not using. That seems, you know, great for me, great for Americans. And if we can do similar things with China and whatnot, yeah, that is definitely welcomed, because I'm not a fan of, you know, I don't want to live under, you know, Chinese hegemony for sure.
Yeah, the West needs to start waging proxy wars again. They need to go to Vietnam, who is begging to be accepted into the Western sphere of influence, and go, yeah, we're going to ship everything through you. We're going to make you the new China. We are going to make you outcompete China. And if there's a war, we'll throw Vietnamese people at them.
To be fair, I have heard that a whole bunch of manufacturing that Americans sent to China has now been being moved to Mexico.
Yes.
Yep, because Mexico is a safer sphere of strategic influence. It's still not good, though, because Mexico is not a country you want the majority of your industry in, due to the fact that Mexico isn't run by the fucking Mexicans.
Yeah, there is a lot going on here for sure, but yeah, just there was a super chat that you got, Arch, earlier. I noticed it because I'm watching both chats, and like the guy was like, Russia has a right to defend itself against American expansion into its territory. And like, what alternate universe do you fucking live in?
No.
Assuming that Ukraine is
This is
Russian.
100% correct. It is 100% correct.
Okay.
Russia has every right to look at a major military alliance creeping up on its borders and going, hey, I don't like that. You know what else is true?
Mm-hmm.
Us expanding our military alliance and saying, tough shit, deal with it, bitch.
Based.
They can dislike it, but like invading another country is like not a precedent that we want globally whatsoever.
Yeah, but there's the thing. Why don't we want that precedent? We don't want it because we can win without invading anybody.
Yeah, exactly. We want people to compete economically and culturally, and we don't want like the people
winning.
who are like most violent and savage to win. Yeah.
And again, that's the thing. Like, we have discovered a set of rules that benefits us, and we are now enforcing that rule set upon everybody else.
And that rule set is like Western culture, though, right?
Yes.
It's like all the things that made Western culture fantastic. And one of those things is the concept of private property. And I think that we've expanded that idea to nation states to say that you can't come into another nation state to property owned by other people and violently take it. And that is one of the best things about the Western world.
We also ignore the shit out of that whenever we want to. Afghanistan, Vietnam, etc.
Yeah, that's true. And I think it's...
Well, to be fair, hold on. Afghanistan doesn't work there, Arch, because of 9/11. With Iraq, it works, yeah. Iraq was like a fucking
but
shit show.
again, that was like, hey, we think you supported this attack. What? Boom.
Yes, that's what it should be, Arch.
Again,
if you get attacked, you should stomp them into the ground. Yes, of course.
The rule set is whatever the fuck we say it is, and that is fine. But we need to embrace that. We need to stop with the whole like, oh, you can't do that. Why? It's mean. No, you can't do that. Why? Because we fucking say so.
Well, it's both of those things, though, Arch. It's because we say so, and because it's bad. It's
we back it up with the moral claim.
Yeah, it's both strength and moral.
Every other dominant culture goes, we're like, oh, this is my stick. What would you write on it? Oh, morals, Western philosophy, but it's still a stick.
Yeah, but you need both of them, though. I think is the point here, is that you need both of those things.
Yeah, but again, the fascists would just pick up the exact same stick and write new words on it, and it's the exact same stick.
Yes, but it wasn't simply a power calculation that made them lose and us win. And also, it wasn't...
Fucking course it was.
And also, it's not simply a power calculation that makes our society better to live in for the average person.
Oh no, it's not only. Like, we obviously value our society, and like I said, we have objectively superior morals. But at the end of the day, you can have the best morals in the world, but if your neighbor has a larger stick than you, they matter for fucking naught.
That is true, yes. But also, the morals direct how you use the stick, which will create a better or worse society down the line.
To a degree, but there's also the problem with how we are currently wielding the stick. We are actually currently bound by the stick, which is why we are not capable of wielding our cultural imperialism in the way that we should.
I agree, which is why we should be supporting Ukraine with 10 times the amount of munitions. Send over even more stuff. Give it to them.
I think Ukraine is kind of like an easy one too, in a way, because it's much more, I think, morally clear, at least for me, and Israel maybe to a lesser extent. But then also, like, the further you get away from these sort of headline-grabbing geopolitical conflicts, you get into murkier waters really, really quickly. And I think that is when Americans find themselves in these situations where we are only tenuously related to the fundamental question. Like, our actual actions are only tenuously related to the stated cause for involving ourselves. And then we have suddenly a Vietnam or an Afghanistan where we're stuck there because the mission objective was not clear from the beginning and we weren't able to execute on what we did say we were going to do. And that is kind of the failure state that we've seen play out over and over again.
Yeah.
Also, as another side, according to Boog, the reason why the Mexican parliament is currently being stormed is they tried to pass a law that removes private property.
Holy shit.
Wow.
Now, this is in Mexicanese, so I don't fucking know. I'm just taking his word for it. But
Boog, you are now the new communist of the group. Mexico, the People's Republic. So, okay, you were talking about tariffs earlier, Arch. You want to get into your pro-tariff stance?
Oh, fuck yes. Tariffs are the best thing ever.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay. Elaborate on that.
Because America is currently in a competition with China, an economic war. The tariffs will prevent China's influence over America, or at the very least, it will diminish it. It will give a fair bit of money. Some of that money will go away, and it will also encourage actual American businesses. See, that's what Kamala goes so well. We need small businesses. We need businesses in America. But you're competing with a country that has access to basically the same technology as you, but vastly more affordable manpower, and a hell of a lot more of it. The best way to do this is to actually begin isolating your nation, because if you're going to wage an economic war, you have to wage it on your principles. The open market is the best conceivable solution when everybody is playing with an open hand, when everybody is opening and going into it with the assumption that this is to each other's benefit. When one player, however, has a loaded deck and comes in to cheat everybody else, you need to get them out. And one of the best ways to do that is tariffs. Now, it will make things more expensive in America in the short run. It absolutely will, no doubt about it. But the aim is for American industry to rise in the power vacuum that will, in essence, be created by this, to replace those products that America has grown reliant upon from its strategic enemies.
So this is the Singapore argument, then, basically.
Well, yeah, lots of people will
Deb.
give...
I came up with this on my own.
No.
Lots of people will give arguments like this about tariffs, Deb. Yeah.
Oh, no, go ahead.
Well, people will always talk about protectionism and strengthening local industries. And historically, it's worked in like a few circumstances, but overwhelmingly, these circumstances kind of look like blips on the radar when considered against the vast array of evidence, which seems to indicate that tariffs really hurt local industries. And that happens for two reasons. One is just making things much more expensive. It's much more expensive to do business. But two, it also seems to insulate local industries from competition that would otherwise make them stronger. And so tariffs can work like if your local industries are maintaining that competitive edge so that once they get onto the international stage, they're really doing well. But it seems like what mostly happens in countries that implement tariffs is that these local industries are not forced to innovate. And so they dilapidate, they get worse over time. Meanwhile, everyone else in the country suffers because things are more expensive, harder to do business. Other countries are going to trade with other countries, and even if we're tariffing the fuck out of China, we're hurting ourselves just as much as we're hurting them. And that's really not good for us. I think especially since we have this kind of service economy. We are not exporting the same sort of things. They have all of this industry. Other people will buy it. Yeah, I think that there's not much of an economic argument to be had. Now, I will say there is something called like the China curse. Many people have experienced. They go to China, they set up factories. The Chinese like steal the technology that is being built in the factories. They steal just anything they can get their hands on. Then they create the product themselves, and then they suddenly are competitors on the global stage against these American businesses. This has happened to Tesla and many other businesses as well. Mm-hmm. And that's really not good, but that's also something the private market solves for. Like private companies will just invest much less in China, and they pull out of China more and more.
They go to Mexico, for example.
Exactly. So I think it's kind of a self-solving problem as long as we let the free market do its work. So, yeah.
Okay, so the primary gist of that appears to be the competitive edge. I have a very easy solution to that one. And it begins with a question. When did China manufacture its first ballpoint pen?
Ooh, I don't know. When?
2017.
Seems late to the game. Seems late
Yes.
to the game.
There is absolutely no risk whatsoever of China outcompeting the United States of America, much less so the West, on an industrial basis for the next 100 years. Especially if we all agree that China is our strategic enemy. If the West goes, yeah, we don't like you, we're going to trade with each other, the rest of the world would be left in the dust. Especially if we also go over there and go, hey, Taiwan, yes, you're another state of the US now. Yippee!
Yeah, I don't know. I think that maybe we are underestimating China a little bit here. They are a total industrial powerhouse, and more they seem to be a scientific powerhouse as well. You know, maybe they didn't invent or manufacture their own ballpoint pen until very recently, but there's so many other areas where China is producing things, and it's really, I think, only a matter of time before they are caught up. And I don't think I think they're helped by being able to steal our stuff, which is terrible, but I don't think that tariffs are necessary to prevent that.
So, just real quick here. When I mentioned Singapore, basically, Singapore built up its economy by using tariffs to prevent to prevent industry from outside of Singapore from coming in and just flooding their market with cheaper and better goods. And they did that temporarily so that their own industries could be built up. But then they reached a tipping point where they realized that those new industries had to compete against those other outside industries because they were being stifled long term in their development by only competing with ones that were local. So there's like, if you have like a very young developing economy, tariffs can be useful to at least get some industries off the ground, but eventually you do have to let them compete with the open market.
I believe this happened in the
Eventually,
United
yes.
States too. We successfully implemented tariffs around the automotive industry, and it seemed to work out for us. So there are instances in which tariffs can work. And honestly, if I'm being like totally clear here, I do think that probably some degree of tit for tat is necessary in this. I mean, Art, you brought up that free market is great when everyone plays by the same rules. Yeah, I think that's ideally when the free market is great and does work. But we exist in this global environment where not everyone plays by the rules. And I do think that it makes sense to punish bad actors with tariffs to an appropriate extent. I just think that, Trump's replace all taxes with tariffs is
That's way
it's
too
insane.
fucking far. That's insane, yes.
Punish. But also, so the China catching up thing, right? There are two things here. The first is the Chinese have been legendarily bad at exploiting their inventions. If you look at the ancient history of China, they have utilized their manpower, the sheer number of Chinese people, and in many cases also their ability to pass knowledge around their vast country to remarkable effect. They invented the blast iron furnace first. They invented gunpowder first. They invented the printing press first. There is evidence they might have invented things like the wheelbarrow first. However, every single fucking time, they've done nothing with it. The Chinese are remarkably poor at utilizing what they make. And in modern history, the Chinese have invented diddly dick shit and fuck. In fact, the only invention of any significance they've come up with is the electronic cigarette.
Really? They did vapes?
Yep, they did vapes back in 2000 and something.
Oh, damn.
So China is extraordinarily unlikely to be catching up to the West. It's like Russia, for example. Russia right now, when they were cut off from access to microchips in the Western market, they almost instantly, overnight, fell back to a 1940s style nation. because we have monopolized so much technology that requires such a high degree of skill and knowledge to produce that we are literally in the space age, whereas everybody else exists in that age based on trade rather than their own ability to produce it. Not to mention, we could always just be really fucking mean to China, blockade them from all of their raw resources, and starve them into oblivion.
That would definitely be a war. So here's the thing, right? Like
We'd win.
I am still ultimately fine with punishing China because China is terrible. I know here. What's funny is like your chat a year ago completely hated me for me being like, no, we should economically sanction China. And now that Trump has said it, they're like, yes, do it. More tariffs. It's like, okay, dude, I see what's going on. But yeah, like Trump's idea of replacing all taxes with tariffs is fucking insane. Like that's way over the line of what should be done here.
Yeah, you should just have a sales tax like the rest of us.
Wait, does America not have a sales tax?
No, we do. We do.
In some places, but it's like fucking nothing. Like, I was looking into this because America does look like a better and better prospect every fucking day. And I was like, oh, you shouldn't move here. Why? Oh, it's got a 1.7% sales tax. Like, oh, terrible. We move me with my 25% fucking sales tax.
Yeah, it's based on states. So like there's no national sales tax, but they get pretty high in some states and they go pretty low in others. Like Texas, I'm in Texas currently, and we have no income tax, but we do have pretty high property taxes. So another great thing about the United States is you can sort of pick and choose based on what you think is best.
Which taxes you want from which states?
Exactly. Some cities have pretty expensive taxes as well.
I think Florida also doesn't have income tax, huh?
Yeah, that's correct. I do think that I could be wrong. I've never lived in Florida, but I think that their sales tax is actually pretty high.
Well, I mean, this is something that we've gone over several times on Arch's channel as well as mine, Taptage. But basically, it's my opinion that almost everyone's retarded on the economy, and everyone, whether you're left or right, it doesn't matter who you're voting for. Most people want contradictory things out of the economy, and they just don't understand why it can't be done. The examples I usually give are like on the left, you have people who want housing prices to go down, but they want their student loans forgiven, and you can't do both of those things because the people with student loans, they're the people who are looking to buy houses generally, and if you give them more money, that means that demand for houses goes up because more people are going to be buying them, and if demand goes up and supply stays the same, then price goes up. Like it's very simple, like, intro level economics. You can't do both of these things, but left-leaning people just don't fucking understand that. And at the same time, right-leaning people want inflation to go down, and they also want taxes to go down. And those are two forces that work against each other. You can't do both of those things for the same reason. Because if you lower taxes, that means that people have more money in their pockets. If they have more money in their pockets, that means more demand. More demand means prices go up. Like you can't do both of these things. So people just seem to not fucking get what they're asking is impossible.
Yeah, that, and also like I want to reduce the deficit, but also I'm going to reduce taxes and do nothing to spending. It's like, that's not going to work.
Yep.
So yeah, lots of examples of that. Thankfully, we're all incredibly enlightened and perfectly understand economics, so not an issue for us.
We're all big brains here.
Mm-hmm.
I also told Boog to grab his rifle and stand up to the state. He has informed me that they took those away 70 years ago, so...
Oh no.
R.I.P.
R.I.P. indeed.
Man, what else were we going? Were we going at?
I think those were the two big things.
Were they?
I think so.
Okay.
Yeah.
I guess so. So who do you guys think won that debate?
Trump.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. Like, I don't like either of them. I really don't like either of them. Like, you know what? I've watched a fair number of American elections in my day, and usually I can like look at one of the two candidates and be like, okay, I think I prefer him. Like I'm pretty sure I preferred Obama over Mitt Romney. Just like all things considered. But like this time, it's just like, wow, they're both just genuinely awful candidates.
Fence riding little Canadian.
Okay, I think probably the funniest claim that I get thrown at that gets thrown at me from haters, Arch. People saying that I'm like some kind of far left communist who's gonna backstab you and all this crazy shit, but then they also in the same breath call me a fence sitter. I'm like, I can only be one of those things. I can't.
I don't know. You can be a pretty aggressive fence sitter.
The whole point of being a fence sitter is that you're not on either of the sides.
I think you're a fence-sitting communist, so that's my take. Yeah.
And who did you think won, Taftash?
I think Kamala came out looking really strong, and for all the reasons discussed earlier, I think she did a good job of moderating her opinions, and I do think she was on the attack for most of the debate, and I think that some of Kamala's weaker elements, Trump did not go in on. I'm sure he's been coached about what the average American thinks are her weakest issues, but I think he could have gone much harder on more sort of like culture issues and Kamala's relationship to those sorts of things. So yeah, I would have liked to see more of that from Trump, but unfortunately didn't get too much of it in this debate. Also the flip-flopping and stuff. I think he could have gone harder on her for things like the price controls that she was offering just a little bit earlier. As another really bad economic policy, similar to his tariffs idea, at least in my opinion. And he could have really hit her hard on that, but he just didn't bring it up. So
yeah, did Kamala's price controls even come up this debate? I don't think they did.
I don't think they did either.
Because that's a fucking terrible idea coming out of her camp.
Yeah. It's so bad.
You heard about that, right, Arch?
Vaguely.
Let's see here. Oh yeah, so what was really funny about it is that people started writing articles saying, "Stop calling her policy price controls. It's called anti-price gouging." And I'm like,
well,
this is just a fucking word game here. So basically, like, part of her idea was that she wanted to make it illegal to jack up prices during a crisis, right? Mm-hmm. So, like, scalpers during COVID or during hurricanes, right? She wanted to make that illegal. Okay, fair enough. No one likes scalpers. That shit sucks. I get it. But in the list of crises that she had kind of laid out, one of them was a strike. And I'm like, wait. So when workers go on strike, that's considered a crisis that you're going to ban scalpers from taking advantage of now. Because a strike is not the same thing as a pandemic or a hurricane or or a flood or something. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, honestly, it's probably... I'm like so libertarian on this. It's probably not even good to ban price hikes in those circumstances either.
I don't know, man. Listen, I fucking hated having to wait for like PlayStation 5s to restock while everyone's selling them for 3 times the amount on fucking eBay.
Yeah. I think resellers are good.
What?
They're addressing
Why?
market inequalities. Yeah, I think that they better bring the items to the consumers who most value them.
I don't value them that much. Fuck that. I just waited for them to restock.
Yeah, there you go. I mean, at the end of the day, you're valuing your money more than the weight, which is like totally legitimate, and you should have that option to wait. But also, if someone like really wants a PlayStation, I think it's good if they can spend a little bit of extra money to jump the line.
And it gives somebody else a bit more money too, Dev. I don't see your objection to this.
And it rewards someone for their work of buying up the PlayStations, which is, of course, very hard to do, and an
Everybody
institution pillar
wins.
of the economy.
Mm-hmm.
So,
are you guys actually taking the pro scalper position?
Yep.
I'm like mildly pro scalper, but I'm also kind of memeing.
See, like, so with the PS5, like, it doesn't really matter. It's just like that's just a consumer electronics. I didn't like it, but it's like, what? It's not important, right? There are some things, though, I think that it's probably okay to control prices on some like really important things. If we're talking like both Trump and Biden did a cap on insulin prices that I think were probably they did basically the same policy. It's probably a good policy too, because insulin is something that like it's relatively easy to make. All of the development costs have since been recouped, millions of times over, because insulin's it's an old technology. So why not bring the price down for people who actually need it? It's like, okay, fair enough. There are some times in which this is okay. It's just that it's not all the time, and ideologues think that it's all the time.
I think insulin price caps are pretty bad.
Really? Why?
Yeah, well, okay, so there's all sorts of different types of insulin and insulin delivery mechanisms. And if you want older insulin types or delivery mechanisms, you can go out onto the market and get those, and they're very cheap. But the thing is, no one wants those. No one wants like old pig insulin. They want the newest, best technology. And that newest, best technology only really exists because companies know that if they invest tons of money in trying to develop these new drugs, they can sell it at a price that they're going to get good returns. So I think that cycle of innovation, which makes these older forms of insulin really cheap, that's really good, and that needs to be encouraged. And the best way to bring down insulin prices in the long term is to make sure that that process of innovation keeps on happening. And if we are putting price caps on like newer insulin, that is just going to stem the flow of innovation, and long term is going to hurt people, even if in the short term it is bringing down prices for people.
I'm not exactly sure.
And just like that, Dev was defeated in verbal combat.
No. I'm still not completely sure about that, because like the problem with these with markets in this sense is that the buyers of products do not have the same level of information as the sellers of products. This is a problem with healthcare. It's a problem with housing. Like the market functions when buyers can get a decent amount of information so that they know what they're actually purchasing, right? And when you can't have that, because either it takes some kind of expertise, like with healthcare, or it takes you're not making repeated purchases like with housing, then there has to be some sort of regulation in place to ensure that you are at the very least getting the product that you think you're getting. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I totally get that. And honestly, this is one of these positions that I've actually moderated on pretty recently. And actually, for as, libertarian as I tend to be, I think that there is a contingent of people who really just lack the information, or they lack the time, the energy to like really go out and evaluate all of these things. I think it's probably good if for some group of people in society, there is maybe like an opt-in option to have those kinds of things handled by the government. And maybe it involves like higher taxes. So like you choose to have the government handle some sort of like medical market searching process, some market information gathering process, and they make sure that you get like the right products at like a certain price. They negotiate a little bit on your behalf, but then you also get taxed higher as well. That seems like a pretty good solution, or something like that would probably be pretty good. And so, yeah, I think that for people in society that really just cannot do that, that's probably fine if they have some alternative.
So, hold on, let me see if I understand what you're saying. Basically, you want the ability for people to pay more in taxes and then be subject to more regulation, but then also they could opt out of the taxes and then not be regulated. And then if they get sold up the river by a snake oil salesman, well, tough luck, you decided not to do that.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, I think that like if you want to like choose for yourself if you want to do all of that work of making sure that you are getting the right insulin and whatnot, I think that you should have that option. But I think it's fine if the government provides some sort of public system that you can opt into, where the government will take care of that for you. And like you're saying, some people, do not have the market knowledge to make informed decisions. That's true. And those people should have an alternative. Now, private companies can also step in to do this. and offer these services to people, I think that's also probably great.
I think we're just talking about insurance at this point.
A little bit. I mean, we're kind of talking about like private FDA alternatives or like opt-in, like
We're going
FDA
full
alternatives,
ANCAP.
that kind of thing. Yeah, maybe a little bit. But I think it's fine if there's a public option, and I think it makes sense to have certain regulations around that to make sure that people aren't being exploited or taken advantage of by bad actors in the market.
You know what? I think I disagree with both of you because I don't care about your insulin. I have free healthcare. Shut
up. Norway's free healthcare. With your, was it your sovereign wealth fund?
Yes.
Ooh, thanks.
You wish you had one of those.
Yeah, it's true.
I think Canada does, actually. I mean, Canada's also one of those resource-rich nations with a low population, too, though, so makes sense. Actually, I think Texas has a sovereign wealth fund, even.
Oh, really?
Yeah, hold on.
Now, should we break for Super Chats? Because I'm sure you have some to do, and I have a few to do.
I think you have more than me, Arch. I think you got about double the viewers I did today.
He's rolling in it.
He's rolling.
I'll talk to you
Good
about
job,
that later,
Arch.
Dev.
What? Why? What's wrong?
Yeah. Oh. I don't want to rub it in, I guess.
Oh, okay. Hold on real quick. Let's see. Yeah, so Texas has a fund for schooling paid for by Texas Oil.
But that's nice for them.
Yeah. So if you're, despite Texas being a very right-leaning state, you know, if you want to go to school, you can just use the oil money.
Interesting.
Yeah, Texas Oil are good people.
Primary and secondary education.
Unlike BP, I guess.
Here, just give me a second. I'll be back.
Okay, god damn it. Where was I?
Okay, I've returned. All right. So yeah, I've got some super chats to read, and you've got your own super chats to read, and I should probably be done soon because you got an early day tomorrow, and Naomi has an early day tomorrow as well. Yeah, Taftadge, you didn't stream this on your channel. You didn't do a grand return or anything, did you?
I did not stream it, but perhaps in the future.
Yeah. Yeah.
'Cause it was definitely fun. I really enjoyed speaking to you, Arch, because you brought a lot of energy and ability to defend points, which was really nice. That, you know, disagree with me. It was cool.
Oh, absolutely. I enjoy it as well. And I hope I don't come across as aggressive. I know I can come across as a little bit pompous.
It's your accent.
On these points.
It's entirely your accent.
Honestly, I worry about coming across as too aggressive too. But I think it's nice when two people can like meet and they're like okay with that energy mutually because it's just a lot of fun.
I've never had like a hint of aggression from you. You sound like a trad wife, to be honest.
Yeah.
Okay.
Same. Like, there was
Well,
no
that's
aggression
good.
there. There was demure house cat going, "Can I disagree?"
Yep. So
okay, good. That is an accurate description of my strength of conviction here sometimes.
Yeah, because so like you and I have talked about doing a show, Taftadge, like for a year now, and it's always been because my situation has been up in the air. And I mean, I like Lilith. I'm still good friends with Lilith, but like she just can't do YouTube right now anymore. So it's like, okay, well, maybe we can finally figure something out now that we're actually doing it.
Yeah, totally. I think that would be super fun.
Yeah, I think that's it. Actually, I will message you later, Taftadge, about something that is not for live ears.
Okay, sounds good.
Conspiracy shit.
Okay. Yeah, I'll see both of you later.
Cool.
Absolutely.
Good stuff, guys.
Have a good day, everyone.
And there we go. I've left the room, guys. It's just you and me now. It's just you and me. Hold on, let me just get rid of this. And there we go. Okay. Actually, you know what? I'll message Taftage right now. Just so I make sure that I don't forget, for fuck's sake. There we go. I sent her the message, and then I will get to her afterwards. Okay. All right. Let me just minimize this. Okay. So, guys. Oh, Jesus. You see, dry bread. Yeah, my dry bread. I've seen you've wanted to hop on too. The thing is, like, you're a Let's Player, right? And that's fine, but it's dangerous business for a Let's Player to hop on to a politics show, you know? You might inadvertently nuke your channel accidentally. And get naked, and I need a strip dance. It's okay, Sparkles. I'll have Taftage give you one, I guess. Okay, let me read some. Let me read the super chats, guys. But yeah, like I was watching Arch's chat, and they're like, they're like insane over there sometimes, guys. You know. There is some like real, honest to God, like insane dev hate over in Arch's chat, and you know what? I kind of love it. Like I like the pushback. I like the insanity. It allows me to like cut my teeth on their arguments. You know what I mean? Because like there have been people who have like I think Drybread, you were one of them. Like you were in there not knowing what was going on, and you were like, holy shit, these people are fucking unhinged, dude. Like these people are nuts. And you know, like I don't mind it when people disagree with me. That's completely fine, obviously, of course. Like if you think I'm wrong about something, or you think like I had a bad take, or I'm missing some information, that's all completely fine. But like the people who are like, Dev is evil, Dev's gonna backstab you, Dev's gonna attack, I'm like, God, you guys need to calm the fuck down. Like there was one guy who kept bringing up like, Dev, didn't you lose 5,000 subs in that most recent drama of yours? And I'm just like, yeah, who cares? All right, yeah, I lost 5,000 losers. At this point, I'm fucking done with like bending over backward to people who just live another reality. So yeah, I'm gonna start reading off super chats and answering some questions, okay? And thanks for all the support tonight, guys. I do appreciate it. Nuclear Winter Gamer for $5. Dev, this is the Saskatoon girl. Yeah, I've seen that. I read that earlier. Thank you very much. Terrace for $5. Dev, from this debate, what is something you would be happy to learn from either contestant, and what is something you would fear to learn? I don't have a good answer for that, to be honest, especially now that it's over. I think the debate went about exactly the way I thought it would go. You know, I think, Trump said obvious lies. Kamala was just very slippery overall, and kind of avoided questions of the fact that she changed her views radically from 4 years ago to now. And both of those things are what I thought would happen, and both of them happened. Yeah. Even the EFAP chat was very against you. Well, there's a lot of overlap with more right-leaning political figures on EFAP, which is fine, by the way. No, the issue ultimately is that there's a lot of people who are being very loud about the fact that they thought I was pro-Trump because I'm anti-woke. And they find it to be like a personal betrayal that I'm not pro-Trump. And they're treating me like I'm this crazy, ridiculous far left person who is like irrationally anti-Trump. You know what I mean? I think Trump, you know what? I think Trump supporters have this need to take rational Trump critiques and like the irrational anti-Trump crazies and consider them to be the same thing. And Arch's fans absolutely do that, for sure. And also, yeah, the people who hate me, they're very vocal about hating me, for sure. Like, they're very vocal about hating me. That's absolutely the case. Let's continue on here. The Goodman for $2. I saw trash and army gear on the screen. California. Thanks, man. Terrace for $5. Arch has to learn in US TV scheduling. Start time means when at least an hour of pre-event coverage starts. Absolutely. For my streams, it's 15 minutes. For some like Summer Games Fest, it's usually like half an hour. But yeah, absolutely. Trash Panda for $5. I'm once again advocating a write-in vote for RFK's brainworms instead of either of these clowns. That's pretty good. Determinatus for $5. If I hear one word about Haitians eating cats during this debate, I'm throwing my television out the window. Yep, that was brought up. That was brought up. There's Titanium's ASMR Taftage. Listen, Titanium, Taftage is taken. No simping allowed, guys. No simping allowed. Oversized Trash Panda for $5. I still maintain that the right's crazy infestation lives and dies with Trump, but the left's crazy infestation has fully infiltrated. I don't know if I agree with you with that one, man. I mean, I think because J.D. Vance is a neo-reactionary, I think basically the neocons are out and the neo-reactionaries are in after Trump. Apples. Yeah. Apple on Apple. I agree with you with that. The moderators were definitely unfair. They should have fact-checked Project 2025 nonsense for sure, but they didn't. Like, they were clearly anti-Trump. There's a clear anti-Trump bias in those moderators. Like, I don't even like Trump, and I can still see the anti-Trump bias, and it wasn't fair. Antelope for $2. Me 2024. Thanks, man. Terrace for $10. Thanks very much. Majority rule is the ugliest equation in the world. With a vote, reality was decided. Yeah, I know what you mean. That's a quote from someone I don't know, but I know exactly what you mean. There are problems with democracy for sure. Nuclear Winter Gamer, $5. Dev, you hear about that Quebec town that property tax went up 400% because of a bunch of land sales that happened in the area? I did not hear about that. That's completely different. Completely news to me. Goodman, $2. Young Sheldon's GF is making waves. Thanks, man. Goodman, $5. Trump, you have Uno. Kamala, I have the oldest Xbox known to man. Thanks, man. And Antelope, $5. Protectionism and tariffs are like an investment. In the long term, it helps promote national industry, but hurts the local consumer in the short term. It's more like in the medium term, it helps promote it. And in the short term, it hurts the consumer. In the medium term, it grows your industry. In the long term, though, you can kind of stifle and decay your industry. Like, you have to like let it grow up enough so that it's strong, and then you have to like let the training wheels go, and let the baby bird fly for the first time, so that it can actually compete in the market. Lives in Dev's Wall is $5. Thanks, man. Harris's prep team definitely spent time drilling her on skeptical facial expressions. Oh god, dude, there were some really funny facial expressions, man. That was fucking hilarious, guys. Holy fuck. The Kamala facial expressions, man. What a fun time. Lives in Dev's Wall is $5. We will have Kamala reacts to Boogie videos by Thursday. Thanks, man. Lives in Dev's Wall is $5. We need to clap and try to resurrect the gorilla. Maybe it's not too late. Thanks, guys. You guys are the best. Trash Panda, $2. This is a race to the bottom if I've ever seen one. Yep. This was not a good debate. Both candidates are terrible. There's no good option here, man. Lives in Dev's Wall is $2. I can agree that we need walls. Thanks, man. Megaleg, $5. Dev is committing Canadian healthcare. A valid response to these two? Nah, you should never end it, guys. You should never end it. Wonton Tiger for $5. I kind of agree with Arch. Obviously, no way to prove Trump was a wild card, and I don't think anyone wanted to make major moves with him as president. Yeah, I think there's definitely an aspect of that, right? Where like, I know there's like that one famous private conversation where Trump threatened to nuke Moscow if Putin attacks Ukraine. If true, maybe it contributed, right? Like, it's possible for sure. Lives in Dev's Wall is $5. War is expensive, Dev. Yeah, that's true. I just didn't think it was 300 million a day expensive. Like, I don't know about that one, man. I think that number's wrong. Goodman, $2. Kamala, I have a plan. Thanks, man. Lives and does walls, $2. Well, I'm disgusted with everything I've seen. Boo. Yep, same. Dr. Diddler for $2. You can't stop all of us, Google. Thanks, man. I think that's in relation to Sparkles getting her fucking message axed. Like, Jesus, what a shit show. Come on, Google. Lives and does walls, $2. Lemon Party for when politics leave a sour taste. Thanks, dude. Stug for $2. It's Ogre. Hey, Stug, listen. Stug, I know that you are part of the Adam and Sitch, Orbiter crew, along with Sammy and J-Mac. Tell J-Mac to, like, answer my DMs and come around. I haven't seen that guy in months. And also, you're supposed to give me something. Sharu for $5. Now, the pollsters are going to do a poll on who the Americans think win the debate. Check it out sometime. Okay, we'll do. Thanks, man. Toot for $2. Ukraine is worse than Israel? I don't know about that, dude. Oh, God. Okay, there were some crazy, like, Ukraine takes in Archer's chat. Like, this idea that, like, funding the war is somehow prolonging it and just causing more people to die, and that if we just gave Ukraine to Russia, everything would be fine. Like, it's so insane. Such, like, complete, like, stupidity. Amber Yesser for 50 dinars, I think. I just wanted to say that abortion equals low crime rates has issues. Okay, I mean, I'll have to look at it, man. Anyways, I just entered the stream after the debate. So, Dev, do you support the two-state solution? Personally, I do. I don't think the two-state solution is viable, unfortunately. But thank you for the donation, man. Charles Anderson, $5. I watched a bit on Archer's channel, but I skipped most of the debate. I assumed that Slime won and the other Slime lost. Yeah, pretty much. That's how it was. Silver Camaro. Dev, how's your diaper smell after this debate? Fuck off. Okay, I'm going to refresh it real quick. Here we go. 10 dinars from Amber. Thanks, man. The best system is forcing folk to play RPGs with me. Thanks. And another 10 dinar from Amber. Archer's fans are crazy. Find and breed them. Sounds good, dude. Breed them. Titanium for $10. You should get my dry bread on more political videos and streams. You and he are in the right headspace to antagonize and rile up Arch's chat together. Arch would like it too. The donations would be lucrative. God, that'd be hilarious. Dracus Luthos for £10. Thanks, man. The current IP laws are broken, but as a creative, I fear what would happen if they were repealed. My world and characters are my progeny. I couldn't bear to see a corporation steal and corrupt them. I agree with you, dude. I'm adhering to Lady Columbia, $10. The debate was meh. Gotta admit, Arch and Dev China-Russia hegemon take is outdated with demographics and reliance in world trade. It's all just objective leftism and theft like government healthcare. I don't know if I agree with you on that one, dude, but thank you for the donation. I appreciate it. Hold on, I'm going to troll Arch's chat a bit. And Blonde for $2. Don't forget my bit chats on Twitch. They're probably retarded, aren't they? Let's see if they're retarded. Let's see if they're retarded, guys. Can I find them? Here we go. There's $1 for Taftaj, but she's gone, unfortunately. Do you think the U.S. should have intervened militarily during the Rwanda in 1994 when Dev's girlfriend Naomi killed all the Tutsis? Fuck you. Neither Trump nor Harris acknowledge the biggest contributing factor to global warming is the fumes from the massive poops Dev makes in his diaper. Okay, I read your retarded fucking chats, dude. Good job. Are you proud of yourself? I'm going to be the Arch chat to Arch. One man Arch. Okay, Lady Columbia. Okay. Listen. Thanks very much, everyone. This was a lot of fun. Oh, how well Pierre Poilievre does next year will depend on who wins the U.S. election. As many Canadian voters will react based on American politics. I don't think so. Honestly, I think Poilievre has it in the bag. Trudeau is like people fucking hate Trudeau at this point. I think he's gonna win. Simple as that. Yeah, they're trying to paint him as a mini Trump, but it doesn't work. It never works, right? Like people who said like Boris Johnson is Trump is fucking stupid. People who say Pierre Poilievre is Trump is fucking stupid. Like Trump has some unique problems that other right-wing figures don't have. But okay, I think that's all of them, eh? And I'd love to keep going, but I cannot. It's an early day tomorrow, guys. But thanks for being here, everyone. I do appreciate it. Sorry, I'm just looking something up real quick. Okay, yep. I think it's time for me to skedaddle. Listen, guys, I appreciate all your support. Play Fear and Hunger for it's 100 dinar. Thanks very much, man. I don't know what Fear and Hunger is. I don't know what Fear and Hunger is. Did you send one, Sparkles? Let me scroll up. Can I find it? Oh, you sent a membership one. Okay, that YouTube doesn't put membership ones in the same list. Devin, need more energy. Fight with the chat now. Do the TDS. LOL. Check your Discord DM to see what I said. XOXO. You eat glue. Love always, nerd. Okay, thanks. Thank you very much, Sparkles. I appreciate it. But yeah, I'll look up Fear and Hunger for sure. But I do not know what it is. Okay, I'll check it out. I'll definitely check it out. Thanks for all the donations, guys. I really appreciate it. The plan is new video tomorrow. Dave's already got it edited, so it'll be a good time. Yeah, man. And I think also Dave and I are gonna either play Star Wars or either Star Wars Outlaws or Space Marine 2 tomorrow on the gaming side of things. But yeah, thanks everyone. You guys are the best. See you next time. Actually, wait. Should we go raid like Adam and Sitch? Let's go raid Adam and Sitch. Here, guys. Spam those coffee cups into Adam and Sitch's domain, okay? Let's go colonize it. Yeah, let's go. All right. Good night, guys.